So clearly, I understand how early in my journey I am here. Very, very early, I would say. I'm mostly just so I got kind of to this point very, very quickly in like 3 weeks. Like I kind of like dove like head first into the game. I've been playing since I was like 8 or 9, man. So I just hit 3K Legion, and yeah, that was all in the span of just like a couple weeks. So I kind of like got to this point, realized like how much I had ahead of me, and I thought like, okay, I'm gonna take like a couple days break, so I don't get like entirely burned out.
Yeah.
And then I'm willing to kind of invest a little bit of my time and money to go over a couple things with you. So moving forward, I know I'm kind of being more efficient with my progression.
Yeah. Up until now, it's basically just like do whatever you want, but yeah, it becomes more and more important to kind of have a clean idea of where you're moving and how you're going to get there to make sure that you're not wandering too much, and because every single mistake becomes way more pricey in terms of time.
Yeah, for sure. I used to do a pretty high-end competitive rating in World of Warcraft, and it's kind of that same idea. If you're like off the path for just a day or two, that can like seriously put you behind in the long run. So I'm scared to stray too far from that path. That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. So just to like put it into perspective, so this is your the last Terra burn or the current Terra burn?
This is the last Terra burn. I burned Demon Slayer, who's at 207, 206, something like that for the second one.
Okay, cool. And so you also have the Abso weapon?
I think that comes at 220.
Like the box? Yeah. And this one is 210 now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're planning on getting the box? Did you already have a plan for that on where to grab that, or is that part of the session to be like, what do I do with that?
I mean, I assume that it's going to be on my main, the Dawn Warrior here, but I don't know. Maybe that was an incorrect assumption.
No, that's it's, if the account is like that fresh, that would probably be what I do. Yeah, that seems like the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's mainly for equip. So like when it comes to Legion and that stuff, like you've all kind of got that figured out on how to progress through there.
Yeah. I've just, like you said, kind of started off just like doing whatever I want, and I've kind of just been alternating between like, oh, I'll make one character that I like want to play and like enjoy the play style, and then I'll do one that I like kind of need to for Lynx or Legion or something like that, and kind of so I don't get burnt out on it. I actually really enjoy the leveling process. It's actually like one of the things that I enjoy the most about the game, so I'm not scared to continue pushing that Legion up into higher and higher numbers.
Yeah, like you level fast enough, which is like the incremental dopamine, right? Like another level, like that keeps you going. Plus you keep getting new skills, which makes it a little bit more interesting every job advancement as well. I think for the early levels they do that pretty well, so that it's not not too much of a hassle to get to 140. But like you said, if you keep alternating between more fun characters and less fun characters, you can keep it fresh and not completely.
Yeah, for sure. My earliest memories of this game were like having sleepovers with my friends and like barely hitting level 30. Like by the end of the night, it's like 4 a.m. and we're like, oh, we can do one KPQ run before we go to sleep, and that was like, so nowadays, pushing to 205 in a sitting is kind of a novel thing for me.
Yeah, I way back when I started, I think it took you like a week or even 2 weeks of like decent amount of playing before you got to level 30. The pacing is just completely off. I mean, completely different, I guess I should say. Off has that negative connotation, but I mean, it is true. I mean, you've probably experienced this now with the last 10 levels, is that the game really starts once you get your 5th job kit, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was even trying to or kind of in the process of getting one of my friends into playing the game, and trying to get that across to them without sounding like aloof was kind of difficult. Like, okay, I understand that maybe you don't like this right now, but this is not even the real game. We start playing the real game later.
You have to like sound like the guy who's trying to get you to watch an anime that gets really good at starting at episode 40.
No, the
It's
first
like, no,
three
no, no, trust me,
seasons,
trust me. Like the first, yeah, but then it
intro.
really picks up after. Once you suck like 600 hours into it, it starts getting really interesting. Trust me. It's like, oof, yeah. This day and age. Well, and I think that's why it's also a good thing that they're actively in KMS as well, working on like the new player experience and streamlining that better and giving a lot more rewards to newer players to make it feel like they don't have to wait for their life to begin, but that immediately they can feel a lot of feedback coming, and even more that, you know, that dopamine rush and those more things that they can click. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I honestly think there's kind of pros and cons to the very back-end focused kind of character development model, because, you know, on one hand it's really cool to continue getting more and more stuff, but on the other hand, like with my Demon Slayer, I was actually thinking that I might swap mains just because I was having a lot of fun leveling it and really enjoying it, and then I hit 5th job, and there are just some things about it that just make it so much more clunky and
It's just not exactly your thing.
Yeah, and so having you know, already that much time investment into the character, and then getting to that point and realizing that it's not really what you were hoping for or looking forward to can be a little jarring. But the forgiveness is built into the Links and Legion system, so you know, you never actually really feel too bad about that time investment.
It's almost like a pity system for picking the class that you
Which
don't
is
end up with.
exactly what I need, because I am that player. Like my old raiding guild in WoW knew that, like, if some random class got buffed by the devs and like we needed one for raid, there's 100% chance that I had one ready to go. Like they knew I was the one with like every single possible ult in the game. So I'm looking forward to pretty much leveling up every class if I can.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, as long as you're familiar with like the general order that they're useful at and what stages they're useful at and how to generally like gradually build that up. And I would say alternate between that. You know, if there are events that allow you to get a little bit more of a boost out of Legion with the bonking potions and stuff like that, then, you know, put a little bit more weight on that, and otherwise just put a little bit more weight on your main, just whatever you feel like doing, but try to always keep a little bit of a healthy balance. I would never go like 100% on one and 0 on another. Always keep it like 90-10 or 80-20 or flip it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can keep steady progress. That's the main important thing.
Yeah, which is really what I'm looking for to be comfortable, you know, at the end of the session, is that, okay, I understand the path forward for that kind of steady progress, even if I'm not, you know, devoting 100% to one direction or another.
Yeah, exactly. So are you familiar with the progression grid?
Yes. So or I guess kind of my Bible that I've been kind of living off of is this dailies sheet. Especially the you know, where you have it filtered by level and everything. That's been kind of my direction of oh, this is kind of the next thing that I need to be going for, and, you know, I'll go and get you know, trucked by Chaos Pink being once and be like, okay, understood, all right. Where do I need to go to get to here?
I need to get all cures.
But in terms of the progression grid itself, I understand the idea behind like the different kind of facets of how your character progresses, you know, flames, cubing, you know, those types of things. I guess I'm kind of in this limbo period right now where I feel like every piece of content that I can do on my Dawn Warrior feels easy. Like, you know, farming in Arcane River or even in Reverse City is, you know, feels really easy. I'm one-shotting everything. All the bosses that I've been regularly farming, like Hard Von Leon and Chaos Horntail and Pink Bean and stuff like that, they all feel super easy. Just bind and nuke it and it's dead in 10 seconds. But I'm kind of at the point now where I feel like the next step is CRA, which feels like a huge step forward. I don't know if that's just like me misunderstanding or not understanding how to progress my character, or if it really is that much of a reach.
It is. It's also a combination from, in general, the content is also designed for the things up to now. It's just very easily soloable, and then CRA is pretty much made, especially in the beginning, for doing it as a party of like 4 or 5 people. So it's not only the fact that, you know, it is quite a big leap, but it's also like 5x leap because it is taking into account more people and the class interaction and empowering each other. You know, 1 + 1 = 3 kind of, or, you know, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 6 or 7 kind of deal. Is the idea behind it.
I honestly, had literally just not thought about it like that at all. I guess would describe myself as a relatively solo-minded player, but I am
Yep.
looking forward. I have my little notes here with things that I wanted to mention, and one of the things I wanted to say was that like I want to branch into the more social aspects of the game and play with other people and group up in parties, because that was what I really enjoyed about WoW at the end of the day, was hanging out with my guild and getting to know people and chilling. So
Yeah. So that's not to say that, like, because I'm doing Project CRA at level 210 and soloing the bosses, but that's of course like huge legion and like the link skills. I'm not using every single thing that I have at my disposal, so it is possible at 210 to solo these bosses, but there's a lot of layers, that you have to load mechanics in and out, inside out for the boss. Almost not particularly like blindfolded, but you have to kind of know like what are the patterns, how long do you have with every single thing that shows up, like when do you need to respond, what is safe, what is not safe, what are knowing your class, not inside out, but knowing your class pretty well, like what can I get away with, what can I not get away with, and just knowing behind the scenes like all of the numbers and making sure that you're prepared damage wise. That one is pretty important. So the main reason that it's like a huge jump is because the bosses start getting a lot of PDR. And that makes it so that you get a lot of damage reduction if you don't have enough IED. Are you aware with how that all works?
Yeah, for sure. And in fact, I don't know if I just got like insanely lucky with this double IED roll on my secondary, but I don't know. I was just like, oh, that's great, because I've just been telling myself, like, I keep hearing you tell other people in progression sessions and talk all the time about IED being a pretty high priority for the mid game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Beginning of the mid game, and then there's a lot of sources of it, but not all the sources are as accessible. So if you're at the current IED that you're at, you're definitely at a very, very solid start. And then, some link skills, some legion, and some, if you get lucky with a familiar, that will definitely push you past, like, where you want to be. But for now, like, for 3-door and for, maybe even for Vellum, you're at a pretty good spot. So the thing is, a lot of it is also going to be just practicing. And for many people, I would always just advise to practice solo, so you can really see what's going on and see what's hitting you and when it's hitting you and see all of the effects, right? Turn your own animations down. Hopefully by this time you have a better feel for like what your hitboxes are, like how far away from the boss you need to be able to hit, right? You kind of get a feeling for that. And then you can truly focus on like when does the boss attack, what kind of animation does the boss do, how big is their range, if they use a certain skill, how long do you have to react to things, and just get bodied like a bunch of times. So like you said, just get trucked, like, just get rolled over. But learn from that, right? Look at like, okay, I get stunned here, can I get away with that? No, that kills me. Okay, I shouldn't get stunned, which means I need to dodge these. And for every boss, there's a few mechanics that seem not very important, but you can use them to just win. So like once you start doing CRA bosses, like if you start doing Von Bon is like the easiest one. Von Bon has a specific mechanic where there's clocks that appear on the map, and if they're if it's a white color and he's standing in them, then your timer for your map just goes down the whole time while he's standing in it. And if you don't know that when you're doing the boss fight and you're just casually fighting him, you can look up and suddenly only have 2 minutes left and he's not even halfway yet, and you run out of timer. So at that point it becomes, even though his mechanics are pretty easy to dodge and it's not that impressive, like the fact that there's a bunch of aspects piled on together at the same time, that's what makes it more complicated. But it's a good thing if you're going through the dailies list and you're doing all the bosses, every next boss will not come as difficult to you because you have already built your way up there and you have already some of the mechanics you will have already engaged with, and you'll be very easy to adapt one mechanic from one boss to the mechanic of another boss and be like, oh, I've seen this before, like I know how this works, this timing is maybe a little bit different, but then you can get into the boss a lot faster. So I don't know, yeah. I mean, like, we could go in depth on all the CRA bosses and like talk about them, I guess, but... Did he drop from the call? Hello? Oh shit. I put him to sleep, chat. I'm sorry. We'll be right back after these messages. Hello? Yay, welcome back.
Okay. For some reason, my push to talk wouldn't work while I was tabbed into MapleStory. I don't know why.
That is really strange.
Yeah, I don't know how that works with...
Maybe triggers a different key or something? Oh, that's weird.
No. Oh, yeah, maybe it's because my push to talk button is bound to a ability in MapleStory. I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. Weird.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to say, Yeah, I actually really enjoy the mechanics of boss fights and stuff like that. I watched your full run through with your Adele, and kind of got some ideas of some of the non-normal mechanics, the chaos only mechanics. So I'm pretty good there. Not to flex or anything, but the WoW raider in me is relatively okay with boss mechanic stuff.
Yeah.
Like I can do the one part Golux pretty much like without getting hit, with no problem. And of course all the normal root abyss bosses, I just walk up and hit them once and they die. But
yeah, the level of skill required for most bosses in MapleStory is not super high compared to some other MMOs, I'm sure. So it's once you like kind of see what they do, you'll probably dance around them very easily. It's of course,
I did have, like,
the longer the boss fights are, the more stuff will, possibly annoy you. Yeah, go for it. Oh, I think your push to talk is off again.
I did it again. It's okay. I got it now. It won't happen again. I was gonna say, like normal Magnus, especially like after the first like 30-40 seconds, and then shit really starts doing a lot of things at once.
Yeah,
I get that, but I'm looking forward to it. That's fine. I did have one relatively specific question for like Dawn Warrior. So when you do your regular single target attack, you know, jump up in the air and then jump down or whatever, and that animation lock just feels like not good from a like boss mechanic perspective. Is it like a huge DPS? Like, am I supposed to be toggling between the like stance on or stance off in boss fights to like just do the single target attack where I don't jump up and down? Am I supposed to be toggling that on and off so that I can like react to mechanics quicker? Because I figured that out with Golux pretty quickly, that when the hand was coming, if I'm animation locked in the down dash thing, I don't really have time to jump at that point.
Yeah, so you have the dash that you can use, right? The air dash. So that is part of your arsenal.
Is that an iframe or no?
No, but it's like I think it's. Does it count as a teleport, chat? It is definitely something you can use quickly to like get out of dodge, right? Okay. And the other thing is that whole animation cancel thing, like while you're in the air and not on the ground yet. Yeah, so it counts as a teleport, chat says. So you can count it as that, which basically means that you're lacking like hitbox in the middle. So you could pass through things. It might be like an intermittent hitbox though. So sometimes when things have a long dash, like a long teleport, they'll still have a hitbox like in the middle. So if you're trying to pass through something that would kill you, it has to be pretty close to you or pretty far away from you, like in the first quadrant or in the third quadrant. Like in the second one, you might still get hit.
I think I remember one other character with the teleport feeling that. I'm not 100% sure which one it was. I think it was the like Explorer mages before you get the teleport mastery, and I was like really running into that a lot. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I know that the Pathfinder teleport has a teleport. The Torrent, I don't know if you've used that one. That one has it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I don't know if Smidley, does Burst Step have that as well? Because they're like the longer ranges where it would be kind of. I don't know if they think it would be unfair for them to be able to teleport that far or something, or they just wanted to fuck with people, or it's just programmed wrong. I'm not sure, but the other thing is that's coming for there's 3 pretty decent buffs coming for Dawn Warrior that are on the way. One is that when you're in that animation thing that you talked about, you'll be getting, at least from how I read it, I'm not 100% confirmed, but it looks like you're going to be knocked down resistant, so you won't be able to get pushed back at all either.
Oh, that's nice.
So like if you just spam that on HMAG, you can just stand there and wail on him, and then if a ball comes down on top of you, then you would have to use the dash when you're in the air to get out of the way, but you wouldn't be able to get like knocked around because you're stuck in that animation. And then 2 other things is that one thing is the duration will be extended from your skill that allows you to spam your sticks crossing, and the skill that will that's like the giant map AoE basically with the eclipse in the background. Yeah, that's going on both up to 40 seconds. Which is nice because that synchronizes with the burst for phase 3 for Hard Lucid later, so you can do better damage there. And they're also adding that if you use Styx Crossing during that skill, that it's not going to consume any mana anymore.
Yeah, instead of draining like
Instead of
25% of your mana bar
yeah,
every cast.
yeah, because it's you have like no mana like you
Yeah,
have
it's
13k, which is already. I mean, I'm guessing with some help, you're barely at 13k. Yeah, so that you're draining your MP really fast. Yeah.
yeah, more than any mage I played for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know. It's
You
crazy, but
just
it's
gotta
fine.
try to play Blaze Wizard in 5th job with mana overload, which makes all the skills consume even more mana and then deal more damage. You can get rid of your entire bar in like 3 seconds. It's insane.
Jeez, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they have like 80,000 mana or something, so it's it's serious. And then they have a regeneration skill, but it's got like a 90-second cooldown, so it's it does something, but it's not like you don't need potions anymore. Definitely not. Yeah, so we could because we have a short session, so we can. There's a few things we can touch on, a few topics. We're mainly going into the equips, right? But so when it comes to familiars, are you familiar with what you need to look out for there and how you're gonna attack that? Push to talk is not working again.
Yeah. Sorry. So the first familiar, because I needed to open this up just to make sure.
Right. Yeah.
So the literal first familiar I opened on this character was a 15% IED.
Of course.
So I don't know if that's good or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been bringing my little street lamp out when I go to boss fights, and he's chilling, helping me out. So I don't really know where to go from there. I don't know if I need to be trying to upgrade this guy or getting my second familiar available or.
Yeah, so upgrading is always replacing. So like either you like what you have and you keep it, or you don't like what you have and then you can choose to upgrade. Or if you upgrade something that you already like, then there's a better chance that you get something shitty in return than you get something better in return.
I see.
Yeah, so we don't have like re-rolls. We just have like tier ups, and then when you tier up, which you've already noticed with cubes, right? What you get is what you get at that point.
I see. So I guess where should I start in terms of familiar progression, or is it high on the list for priority?
Well, so it's one of the things that on the side you want to be working on and not neglect. The main thing is when you're working on Legion now, I would just all of the cards you get, just siphon them back to this one and just open them here to see if you get any good stuff. Okay. Make sure you unlock your second slot. Maybe not exactly right now that you have to do it at this very moment, but having 2 familiars out, if you can get 2 with 15% IED, that would be really nice. That would help you even more with bossing, because there's nothing else really that can help you that much when it comes to familiars. But like I said before, like the amount of sources of IED that you're going to have is decently limited at this point, and the opportunity cost for getting IED on familiars is very low compared to whatever else they could be giving you. So that's like kind of the ideal thing. The only other stuff you can be looking out for is any kind of drop rate and maybe some kind of healing on familiars. Everything else you can just completely get rid of. You can extract them for points, maybe buy booster packs, maybe just sit on the points. But yeah, make sure you complete 1 familiar badge set so that you can get a second slot available. That should be pretty fast as well. You can check the familiars in the UI and just see. I think it's like the Oppressor badge or something, just has 3 cards in it, so that that's like 5 minutes at most, and then you're done.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. I just haven't felt compelled to.
Yeah, so like the next steps would be like all the cards, throw them in your storage and open them back up here, and then look for those stats for now, and then that's pretty much it. If there's another character you want to do something on, you want to do some bosses on, you can start throwing the cards on there. If you have on this character what you feel that you can, that's all you can get, maybe a little bit of healing, a little bit of drop, and then, the 2 IEDs, and then that's it. You can either do it on another character, or, like I said, you can just extract them all and go for the packs. Maybe small chance of epic, but also chance of some cards that are more rare that will help you complete some other badges. But I wouldn't worry about like getting 10 badges and getting a 3rd slot and any of that stuff until you're doing like way harder bosses and until you're training in way higher level areas like level 240 plus or something. So until then, there's no real need to push that any further.
Got it.
Yeah, and I guess to stay in the topic of like IED, the only other stuff that will give you IED pretty quickly now would be like certain link skills. Don't know which ones you have exactly. But you said you're at 3k Legion, so you probably have some of the basics already, right?
Yeah, I have pretty much all the ones that you have on high priority on your links list, links and legion list. I think I only have one of the explorer mages, but I think that's crit rate. And there's a couple others that I'm lacking,
The
but yeah, I
archers,
have.
archers is crit rate.
Oh, that's right. But I do have the Lumi,
Yep.
and the Beast Tamer. I think those are IED. And
Yeah, Beast Tamer Legion buff is IED, and then the link skill is crit
oh, that's
and
right,
boss
that's right.
damage. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good all-around character for sure. Make sure you have the Beast Tamer already. That you also have the 0 created, because we're not sure when those are. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, those are just very solid. The experienced ones. Once you have the experienced ones, and I guess the other thing to focus on, since the ID seems to be pretty well in order, mainly because of your secondary. And yeah, like having a secondary like this is completely fine by now. It just means that you don't have to worry about ID as much, and you can just start focusing on all the other stuff. If you end up rolling like a bunch of attack, like that's good too, but that means that you have to focus more on IED for now to make sure that you can hit the bosses properly. So, you know, each solves a problem. Honestly, getting a lot of IED and his stuff early is probably the better way to go, because it means that, you know, you can focus more on raw damage for other stuff. Because you can get raw damage from everywhere, but you can't really get IED from everywhere. You have to go very specifically to go find that. So this is probably a better scenario to be in than if you could, you know, choose the other one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like I got insanely lucky with the Miracle Time last week or a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, just get a bunch of uniques.
Yeah, I got 3 different pieces that went from rare straight to unique, and I got that roll on my secondary with like 5 or 6 cubes, and then I got that. It only took me like half my stack of red cubes to get my emblem to that 3 line.
Yeah, ideally you want to get percentage attack, but if you can get 3 lines that all give you something, then it's way better than just 1 line of attack, of course. So, especially this early on, because you don't have giant piles of weapon attack yet, so there's not that much to multiply. So, and you don't have that much percentage strength yet, so comparatively, that's very strong. So that's how you,
for sure.
Look at those numbers.
And then I have those weird Von Leyen gloves that have absolutely insane rolls that I'm just like sitting on this one random piece of, you know, like early boss gear.
Yeah, it'll just stay with you for a while probably. The flame is probably like double the flame of anything you would be expecting at this point, so that's nice. And is this one of the items that went from rare straight up to unique?
Yeah, that, and I think the Kana, or the Silver Blossom ring.
Yeah, Silver Blossom, yeah. Yeah, so what are the other stuff? Are you familiar with the transfer hammer video that I made?
That was actually one of the things that I was gonna say that I have not been doing my homework on, is like transfer hammer and transpose. I'm actually not sure what the difference is between the two. But I know I had heard one of the very random bits of information in the absolute ocean of MapleStory information I've been trying to consume was something about transposing onto Golux pendants. I guess because they're not, correct me if I'm wrong, the Golux pendant isn't flame advantage, so you want to use a different item and then transpose onto it, or something like that. I might.
Yeah, you're confusing both of the systems now, because they are quite similar indeed. But you're close. But so there's 2 things: transfer hammering, transposing. They're very similar in the way that what they both try to do is they try to transfer stats from one item onto another one. That's what they both do. I have a whole video on this, but the main difference between it is that transposing is specifically onto Sweetwater items that are level 160 from the Sun Commercy area. So you always transpose into a Sweetwater item, and your items, the base items that you transpose in there, have to be between level 140 and I believe level 155, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I have the video that has all the specific details. And that's typically something that you start thinking about once all of your stuff is like 17 stars and like legendary potential with 2 lines of stat or something. And when you move into the full Superior Golux set and you phase out the boss accessory set, and that one goes basically completely into like drop and meso gear. And then when you go into the damage set, you go into Superior Gollux and Sweetwater as your accessories that basically replace all of them. So that's when you have everything 17 stars, everything legendary, that kind of stuff. So transposing is very much a ways away. The only thing you really can do to prepare for that is do Sun Commercy, prepare and get the Narrows, and do normal arc as much as you can to try to get maybe get primals if you're lucky, and to try to get Dominator pendants. That's the only real prep that you can do for that. But you probably saw arc already on the dailies list, right?
Yeah, I've been doing arc without too much issue, and I did grind before I took this little break. I was going real hard, and so I did grind the max Commercy stuff for about 2 weeks. I get the feeling that that's not very much, but I will get back to doing it on a more regular basis. I don't know, that's one of those types of things that was pretty quick for me to phase out of my priority, because it didn't feel like there was any actual like attainable progression or
like right now
thing that I'm getting. Yeah,
the main thing is that if you want to slowly work up to building up your like leveling your boat to the level 3 to the Dreadnought, once you get there, then the dailies are like very smooth sailing, and it takes almost no time to get them done. And then you can just drown in. You just do like the dailies for 2 weeks or something, and then you'll have enough for like 2 items. So it's like really, it gets really fast at that point. But there's like definitely a build up of doing those last voyages, those slower voyages to get all the experience. They have a better experience to energy ratio, and then once you have your boat leveled up and ranked up all the way to the Dreadnought, then you can just do the lower voyages, and they will have a much better dinero per energy efficiency, and then you just maximize on that.
I didn't even know that there was a way to kind of gamify that system. In a way, I thought I was just going to be doing what I'm doing now every day for like 6 months to get a single item based on the amount of coins I've been getting.
Here's the here's the Commercy link. It's like a beautiful infograph that I have. I'll link you the video to the transfer hammer and the transposing video as well. So basically, to finish that idea, so transposing is that's much further. But transfer hammering is a good thing to always have in the back of your head, and that's why I asked about the glove, and you'll see in a second. So transfer hammering is in the same way. You're transferring stats from one item to the other one, and in the way that the systems are very similar is in that they the consumption cost of transferring over is 1 star on the item. So you have to have at least 1 star to move from one to another, preferably more, because otherwise there's not much use to doing it. But you could do it at 1 star. So one way, so things that get transferred over, for example, is whether the item has potential, how many lines of potential the item has, and the tier of potential. It gets transferred over in transfer hammering up until epic. So if it's higher than epic, it'll get brought down to epic, but you will get the same lines that you had. So, hypothetical situation, let's say that this emblem would be able to be transposed into another one. Of course it can be, because you can star force it, and there's no other emblem. But let's say that hypothetically you were to transfer hammer this one. It would go down to epic, but you would get the same lines even if they are prime lines. So this one would go down to 6% damage, 6% strength, 6% strength on epic.
I see.
So, and hopefully this kind of puts into perspective like the value of tiering up items early on. So if you're keeping the item for a long time, you can definitely tier it up and go hard. If you are going to be eventually transfer hammering through with some of the value, then the main thing you want to invest in is the Star Force instead, because that's just 1 Star Force cost, and then you maintain the rest of the value. But then potential-wise, you probably want to keep it epic, or maybe like unique, but not spending too much money on it, because it's going to get rolled over.
I see. Okay, so I should probably be putting more of a priority on Star Forcing as a whole, because I pretty much just have most of my stuff at 10 stars.
Yeah, so that would depend if the things can actually get transferred through. So that would also depend on knowing like what is the next piece that you're going through. But you can definitely take like a level 120 item and then Star Force it more, because you can. And then the next piece you'll only be using is going to be like 160, but you could do like, okay, transfer it to 130, 1 extra star to 140, 1 extra star to 150, 1 extra star, and boom to 160. And that way, if the item is like epic and has some stars on it, with a little bit of transferring back and forth, you can transfer, you can basically use it like 100% epic potential scroll with some lines that you already like, plus you don't have to Star Force the whole way, and that can save a bunch of time. So
okay, so
it's good to have that in the back of your head when you're looking at items, not just like, can I use this right now, but can you use it in the chain of events, or can you use it to transfer from something you already have to something you might be using later?
Okay, because I thought the real only benefit of doing that was trying to like save money on the star forcing to kind of leapfrog your way up. But okay, that makes sense that you're basically getting a free epic pot out of the exchange as well.
Because what happens if you're going to like an Abzo glove and you go from these gloves to Abzo glove? Well, you have to start the Abzo glove from scratch. But what you could also do, if there's a Star Force event, you can get this glove to 15, sit on it, wait till 5, 10, 15, get it to 16, transfer it into a Pencilier. Get that the one again to 16, it'll be an epic one at that point. Transfer it to a level 150, get it to 16 again, because during 5, 10, 15, it's a 100% chance, so no chance of failure, no need to safeguard, etc. And then transfer it into the Absolab at 15. Boom, get it to 16 again. Now you have a 16-star epic, 6% whatever potential on it. Absolab, and then all you have to do is safeguard it up to 17, and then you can start cubing it immediately, and it's like done. The other thing that doesn't transfer if you transfer hammer is the flame. So that means that whatever the flame is of the target, that's what's going to be kept. And if you use the transfer hammer screen to just see a preview of what's going to happen, you'll see like which stats go through and which stats don't go through.
Okay, gotcha.
And because of that, because you lose that star, it's always important to make sure that you transfer at a safe spot +1, right? So never transfer at 15, because then you go down to 14, and then you can fail again and drop back down to 10. So you always want to do it like at 16 or at 21, the casual 21 transfer. We're talking about a little bit further ahead here, but so that you don't fall back down, and then because that's just a huge loss of money, and then the whole transferring is kind of just not worth it.
For sure.
Yeah, what's the other thing with Transfer Hammer? Yeah, the limits is like the level limit, right? So the item pretty much always, there's limitations. There's like a wider range on the lower items. So if it's below level 100, it can be 20 levels apart, but if it's level 100 or higher, the items have to be 10 levels apart, and they have to be the same type of item. So gloves into gloves. It doesn't matter if it's like a mage glove. So like if you find, for some reason, you find like a Pencilier mage glove or something, you could transfer this into that. Like that doesn't matter. But of course you can't use the Pencilier mage glove, so you would have to transfer it again to something until eventually there is something that you can use. Yeah. And then you could transfer it into a thief glove if you want, as long as the final Absolab glove is the one that you want, then you're totally
preferably
good.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise,
you might want to be able to use that
because there's no level 170 anymore, so you're kind of at a dead end if you don't pick the right one there. Because you also can't transfer into like an item of the same level. Like there has to be a level difference.
Yeah, I remember in my first kind of days of trying to figure things out, I went and killed Von Leon for the first couple times and actually accidentally bought the wrong type of item, and I was devastated. I was like, all this effort.
But then later you find like, oh, you can just get them as flat out drops and just NPC them, and it's not that big of a deal. But yeah. Well, if you do it with Absolab though, that's a little bit, or you do it with Arcane, that's a little bit more of a. People have clicked the wrong Arcane items. Yeah, that's a rough one.
In the meantime, what do I need to be doing with this cape slot? Do I just need to try to build up a Pencilier piece? I don't even know if I linked it there, because this cape is just the shitty frozen one I got from the box.
Yeah. Yeah, we can kind of go through the slots and see like what the transition is and what the steps are with everything. So okay. So 3 main ways of upgrading, right? Star Force, Flaming, and Cubing, right? So Star Forcing, the main thing is getting everything to 10 or to 11, like that's all well and good, as long as it can go that high. Some items can even reach that high, so you're done very quickly. There's a 1+1 Star Force event upcoming pretty soon, which means that if you Star Force and you succeed, then I think it's this Sunday actually. If you succeed, then you get 2 stars instead of just 1, and you only pay for 1. And that works all the way up until at 10 it still works, and if you succeed at 10, you go all the way to 12. So in the beginning, that's a very good way of getting everything to 12 stars.
From 10 to 12, right? Okay.
Yeah, and some people will also use it to get it to 15. It's not quite as good as a 30% off, but it's still better than doing it off event, because, every time you fall all the way back down, you'll go back to 12 immediately, so you do save some money.
10 to 12, right?
Going up to, yeah. So that is something that you could do on certain items, but again, you want to do it on items that live up to that potential. So rule of thumb, you only go to 15 on items that can go past 15.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, going to 15 is just way more expensive than what you get for it. The only reason you would ever do it is because you're basically paying the admissions fee on to the 15 plus ride, and that's where the really big gains come in. So you don't pay that on an item that cannot get that payoff of like 16 and 17. Only on those items you do.
Do the actual stat bonuses from Star Force actually change when you get to higher tiers?
Yeah, they go by a lot. Yeah.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that kind of fills in some gaps in my understanding.
Yeah. So the rates of success go down. The chances of blowing up items goes up, and that's also why you use Transfer Hammer, right? So you can use items that are easily replaceable, and you don't have to safeguard them because if they boom, it's whatever. You'll get a trace, and then you can transfer the trace onto an item that's the same look, and then you could just keep going. But the items will have high replaceability, and therefore the cost will still be low. And then once you get to a high amount of stars, then you transfer over to the item that you want to keep, and then that item probably is going to be way more rare and way more difficult to replace, and therefore you save the money of having to safeguard it. Yeah, and that's why it's worth the investment, basically. So for the whole thing, and we'll go through like the items one at a time, but you're basically looking at like which item is it worth to get like a 10 level lower item and sit on that one for now, and then wait until I get the new item and then transfer over. And for some, can you just do it on the item itself, and for some is it in between, and for some it's going to be a time gate based on do I get a drop from a boss or not. And then you kind of find the path of least resistance of moving forward. But yeah, for example, I could show you if I would say I want to Star Force my weapon right now, which is 21 stars and is level 200. If I would go one more star on this, it has 30% chance to succeed, 63% chance to fail, and 7% chance to blow up my item. So those are
some pretty shit odds, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, those are pretty shit odds. And the 30% is as soon it starts at, I believe, at 13 to 14 stars, it's at 30%, I think. And then the whole way up, it's 30%. But if it succeeds, I get 15 strength, 15 dex, and 17 weapon attack.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I see the appeal there.
So items, even at the same stars, but lower level items, so this one is 150, you'll see that the odds are the same, but the stats added is 11 all stats and 16 weapon and magic attack. So it's a little bit lower. It's not that much different. And that's a weapon versus a regular earring, right? And that's the one thing you will see as well, is that the item level is what determines how much of a stat you gain once you go past 15. And that's why for certain pieces, all the pieces kind of become like mini weapons past a certain point, right? Because all my stuff, like the CRA stuff, is 22 stars, but this has 87 weapon attack, which is, like, compared to your weapon, is like, because of how much attack do you have right now, but all of those pieces will become like mini weapons. And that's why you want to go really hard on Star Force on certain items versus going on potential on certain items. And that has to do with the concept called junk lines, when you basically, if you roll the potential, but there are certain potential lines that just don't add anything to you, they're just there for fluff. Oh yeah, once you get to 22, by the way, that's why 22 is like the elusive barrier, because 22 to 23 is ridiculous. It's like 3% chance for success, 77.6 for failure, and 19.4% chance to boom your item. So, I mean, it's 18 attack, but this is a price to pay. Yeah, and then 23 to 24 is 2% chance, and 24 to 25 is 1% chance. So that's why people say 22, because more than that is just completely ridiculous. But 21 is a really, really good spot to be in, where you're really close to it, but it's way less risky, right? Because with every 5 you have a safe spot, so 20 you can go down. So 20 to 21 is pretty safe, quote unquote. But 21 to 22 is like every single time you drop down and you go back up, every single try is 7% chance to boom, right? So that can go bad very quick.
Nerve-wracking for sure.
Yeah, you have to just expect it to boom, so you can already be mentally prepared for when it does, because there's a very good chance that it will. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so Star Forcing, so that's the main idea, right? Like, keep in mind transfer hammering, keep in mind events, that you can use to Star Force, and keep in mind whether the item is going to go somewhere like into another piece, or whether you need it as the piece, and only do it if it can go past 15, only go to 15, otherwise like 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever is fine. Usually I say 10 or 11. If there's a 1+1 event, obviously you just get everything to 12, a little bit more Star Force. That's quite nice.
Okay. So which of the pieces that I'm currently equipped with are going to be up to that?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
15 level?
I'll go over the three pieces of the three ways of upgrading first, and then we'll go over all the pieces and kind of
Gotcha,
see how it all
gotcha.
fits. I
I'll
think that
listen.
makes more sense. Yeah. And then when it comes to potential, of course, like you had the DMT, so there's a little bit of a premium there to actually spend a little bit more on cubing than usual. You already, identified the right pieces. You went for the emblem and the secondary. Those are really important. So those are priority. After that, I would say priority is probably your weapon, but it depends on what type of weapon. You have a temporary weapon now, you're going to move into a temporary weapon, or a fake weapon, as I say, after this, which has locked potential, so that one immediately is taken out of the race. I would say the next step after that would be either dividing it evenly between all of your stuff, if you have a secondary character that will fund your account, or work on the accessories first, because that's where, when you get to legendary, you get a percentage meso obtain and percentage item drop rate, which will help you make way more money when you're killing monsters, and especially on a character as Dawn Warrior, sorry, not Demon Avenger, Dawn Warrior, who's very strong with a very strong 5th job kit that immediately starts doing a lot of damage and can kill the monsters around their level very easily. You want to immediately tap into that potential of not needing the damage of getting a whole bunch of stat on everything, but you can immediately tap into the utility of your accessories, of getting more money and more dropped items like nodes and everything immediately from the get-go, so you can get used to how strong that is, so that when you get strong enough to make the you want to go do bosses, so you can add the boss damage and add way more stats from a second set of accessories onto your account. You'll feel a huge increase from that. So you're kind of like short-term gimping your account, but you won't even feel it that much because Dawn Warrior is a very solid base. And then in the longer term, and once you get to like Helix, and like Lotus and Damien, and then you swap out and maybe to Lucid once you're like full 17, once the transposing comes in. To link it to your timeline, basically. That's when you'll feel like a huge benefit from the boss, the Superior Galax accessories, the Sweetwater stuff, and all that up to 17, and that being scrolled. Being cubed for strength rather than for utility. That'll be a huge increase at that point. And so you're basically putting that off a little bit so that you can invest into making money faster, so that once the new events come around, then you can go way harder on those, because you'll just have more money to work with.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I'll even progressing to higher levels, I should be able to one-shot stuff even without damage lines on my accessories.
Yeah, one line of stat would be really nice on top of your meso or your drop rate lines, which only exist in legendary, because you have 9 pieces, right? So the rings, the pendants, the eye, the face, and the earring, those 9 pieces, those will be able to get meso and drop rate. So if all of them can get one line of 9% strength, then you'll have 81% strength extra. That would be really nice. And in making that set and in getting those pieces together, it's a good idea to have in the back of your head, like, okay, which pieces am I going to get? How many lines do I need, right? 5 lines of meso obtained, 4 lines of item drop rate between the 9 pieces. If you have more of one than how much you're needed, then pick whatever item that you have that has that line and doesn't also have a line of strength, and re-roll that one first.
And get damage on that one, got it.
Yeah, and then so that hopefully you can get most of the pieces with a line of all stat, 6% or 9% strength, so that you can at least salvage some damage there. Again, it shouldn't be the main thing, but the main damage should be coming from your arcane symbols, so those dailies, very important. From your boost nodes, so making sure which boost nodes you're going for, leveling those up, always getting as many nodes as you can from things like event shops and that kind of stuff, and just from your overall, what I call the hybrid gear, like the WSE, Weapon Secondary Emblem, and from stuff like your CRA and your Absolab gear once you get that. That's where your damage, your output damage comes from, not your accessories. The accessories are just, literally just you're accessorizing, right? That's where you want to get your utility when you're mobbing. When you're bossing, that's where your damage comes in, and mainly in the form of damage and of the set bonus once the Galax set hits it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that would be like the order to upgrade things in. So again, so WSE, and then probably for you, if you're maining just this character and that's where you want to make your money as well, would be like the accessories. And then after that, I guess technically gloves are high priority, but I wouldn't do that until you get into Abso stuff. And then it would just be higher level to lower level priority, basically.
Okay, and I don't mind if it will be of a large benefit to me, and I need to make a Kana or another farming
Mm-hmm.
character and actually have the set on that character. I don't mind doing that at all. If it's you tell me if it's a significant upgrade over doing it on my Dawn Warrior in terms of efficiency, with having to use totems versus Kishin,
Yeah.
then I'll do it. I don't mind it. I actually relatively enjoy the Kana playstyle. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. I hate playing flavor of the month characters. I tend to stray away from that direction, so I would never like main it. But I don't mind grinding it out. So if it is that much of a benefit, I'm happy making that a priority as well.
Yeah, it's mainly a big benefit if you need the shorter intervals than the totems, because like right now the totems are just 2-hour blocks of time. That's not available for everyone all the time, and there's a limit to totems. So if you find yourself playing the game so much that you run out of totems pretty quickly, you just can't buy more, but you still have a lot of month left, then having a Kana that will be able to make a whole lot of money would be a huge investment and a sound investment to make sure that you can get that money to this character, to any character that might need it within your account. So
Gotcha,
that's something to
gotcha.
take into account, like how sporadic is your playtime, and like how just the general bulk of how much playtime do you plan to have. So when it comes to totems, you have access to 15 in the shop, right, and then 2 extra from the daily logins. So that's 17 and 2 hours each. So that's 34 hours a month in blocks of 2 hours. For me, that's more than I grind personally, at least in those blocks. But to some people, they finish those totems always in like the first week and a half of the new month, and then they're already out. So yeah, it's kind of up to you at that point. If you would go that route, you can kind of just leave the accessories, I guess, at unique, and I would probably focus on more getting like all the stuff to unique again, under the presumption that those will be items that you will be keeping and eventually be going up to, right? Otherwise, probably keeping them epic is fine. But just to get everything to like 9 or 12% stat to just get way more damage when you're training. I personally like to do like the combination of item and drop and mezzo, and then have a little bit of a hybrid set that is like okay at everything. And a class like Dawn Warrior can definitely get away with that. And what I felt is that I can make enough money and I can get enough progression out of this without needing to have one character that's dedicated to just making progression, because when you are grinding and you are getting those rates, you're not making any experience on your main, right? And that's the so that's why the main value is when it's not cutting into your Dawn Warrior playtime.
Yeah, honestly, with that kind of description, I'd probably say that I wouldn't want to do that based on my time restrictions. I don't mind grinding out for multiple hour blocks in a row, and I genuinely
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy the play style with Dawn Warrior here. But I also don't see myself dealing with a total volume where I would be starting to worry about my total limit from the shop being a big
Yeah,
stopgap.
as long as you know that once you do get to that point where you're like, okay, maybe there is value there, and at that point your Dawn Warrior can probably fund the Kana pretty quickly and pretty
Yeah, I was about to
directly.
say.
And then you can always like scale up there in the amount of hours. The other thing is also, and I'm always a little bit hesitant, and people will say like, I hate Kana or something, which is not true, of course, but the fact that the Kana is so good at that will also make it like stick out, and things that stick out tend to get hammered down. And you've played WoW for a long time, so you know when something is like really, really good, that means it's like a prime candidate to get nerfed, right? So
Yeah.
if you do pick the road of like, oh, this is the best, you always have to be prepared to this could be gone when the game decides that it's too much. So
Is there any chance that you play Magic the Gathering or have ever played
I
Magic?
have played that a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, so Magic has just devolved into a game where all the best cards get printed and you have to buy them or you can't be competitive, and then they get banned because they're too good. So it's just this
Oh yeah,
constant stream of just I'm incentivized to do and buy the best thing, but I just know that it's gonna get banned eventually.
depending on the format, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
With certain formats have different lifespans for how long it'll take for them to ban stuff. But it's that same kind of idea. That
Yeah.
if you want to be in the situation where you're taking advantage of the OP thing, you need to
Yeah.
know that
And you have to buy
sometimes
them. You have to buy them immediately before they get way too expensive. And then if you don't sell them immediately once they get like tournament banned, then you can't get anything for them anymore.
absolutely nail on the head.
So you
Yeah,
get
just
you can fuck both
hundreds of
ways.
thousands of players. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Either priced out of buying into the decks in the first place and being
Yeah.
uncompetitive, or
That
priced out of
is
continuing to play the game once all their cards aren't worth anything anymore. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that sucks. I remember getting a what was it like Sensei's Divining Top or something
Ah,
in
yes, that was
Kamigawa, and it was like I was like, I think this card is pretty interesting, but it wasn't really that good in Kamigawa. I was like, okay, I guess it was like an uncommon, and then I think they reprinted it as a mythic rare.
Yeah, because it was just completely dominating an entire format. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because of was it like because of graveyard the grave stuff where like
'Cause
reanimation decks or something.
you could
Or-
there was an enchantment called Counterbalance that countered spells based on the mana value of the card that was on top of your deck, and since a dividing
Right.
top let you very efficiently manipulate what the cards were on top of
On
your
top,
deck.
yeah.
And Legacy is a format where the average mana cost of spells is so low that just having a couple 1 or 2 mana spells near the top of your deck would make it virtually impossible for your opponent to ever resolve anything, because you
Wow,
could
yeah.
always
You
just
just
have
lock
something
them
that
down
can match.
completely.
Exactly, yeah. It
Hmm.
also led to games just taking like infinite time. It's like every
Yeah.
time your opponent did something, you're like, okay, I got to crack my divining top, look at the top 3 cards of my library, figure
Yeah.
out what order I want to put them in, and then put them back. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like 1 mana tap or something too, right? With something
Mhm,
ridiculously
mhm.
low, yeah.
Yeah, and if you sacrificed it, you could put it back in with one of the 3 cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a mess, but
But I guess, so it would go from like being kind of whatever to being like very, very expensive and then to getting banned probably, right?
yeah, so like with new standard sets getting printed, there's normally like 1 or 2, or for example, they just came out with a set called Modern Horizons 2, and there's one mythic rare out of the set that's more than $120 for just 1 card,
Mhm.
both in paper and online. And in terms of like the top decks right now, you basically have to have 4
Yeah.
in your deck if you want to be competitive in the format. And so it's just this like artificial scarcity with them developing demand for a product that doesn't have a whole lot of inherent value other than the
Yeah.
manipulated value of the plant cards, the chase mythic cards. But then they end up having to get banned because they make the format miserable. To give you an idea, I just sold out of my entire Magic paper collection because of the faith that I've lost in the company. And I accepted about 40% of the value of my collection just because I wanted to support my local game store, just selling my collection back to them as opposed to like I could have gotten more for the collection.
Well, when you're saying 40%, you mean like only and that's only like
40
rares and
cents on the
higher, right?
dollar.
Because you
Yeah.
don't get anything from like commons and like 90% of the
Oh.
uncommons.
Just
You just
rares
give
and
those
higher.
as paperweights like along with
Yeah.
the
and only getting 40%, like 40 cents on the dollar for all those cards that I sold, and I still walked away with an $8,000 check. So if that tells you
how many
invested,
years have you
about 6.5 or 7.5 years playing Magic, and like I've just spent an ungodly amount of time and effort and money on the game, and just have completely lost faith in the company, which is terrible. They're managing what is objectively the best card game ever made, and it's just being run into the ground. It's really sad to see.
Well, for me, it just kept getting way too complicated, honestly. Because the amount of interactions just kept getting too much, right?
They just announced actually things have gotten so crazy. Now they're printing digital only cards in their digital client.
They just do it automatically, so you don't have to.
They just announced it, so now they're going to be doing crazy shit like pulling random cards out of your deck, or things that you literally can't do.
Yeah, physically,
physical paper,
so it's just Hearthstone, basically.
Exactly, and everybody's like, hold on.
Hold on.
I don't understand it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense to have like an online version and a card version for it, kind of, yeah.
It's a very long debate. I don't know, just.
Yeah, some people will feel like it lost its soul or whatever. Hey, I think we're doing a MapleStory progression session, by the way.
Something like that. Yeah. Figuring out where we were. So I've got a pretty good grasp on the priorities.
Yeah, and then Flames is pretty much nothing in the beginning. You'll get like a little bit from your bossing, right? And it's an okay priority from event stores, but nodes is so much higher, and like event rings and stuff is so much higher that you probably won't get to the Flames not until you're much further into the game. So flaming is something you don't really worry about too much until your items are either like Star Force done or potential done, and there's like one piece of cost that's gone. The main priority when it comes to flaming is that your weapons flame wants to be really, really good. That's a really important one. And other than that, the items that you're going to be transposing. So that will be which for you is there's only 2 items, so it would be the Dominator Pendant into the Sweetwater Pendant, those 2. Well, that's one, and then the other one would be a Papulatus Mark, if you can even get one. Extremely rare drop from the Papulatus boss. Can transpose into the Sweetwater Monocle, the eye accessory. Those are the only 2 items that you would look at transposing, and those are the 2 items, I would say, along with the weapon, where it's important to get a good flame on them.
And at the least, I'll definitely be wanting to do the pendant, right?
Yeah, the pendant is very accessible to do, and then basically you'll have 2 whatever drop rate pendants, and then you'll end up with a transposed Sweetwater and the superior Gollux. Like, that combination will be your damage set of pendants. So we're looking at, like, yeah,
understood.
That's when you've been clearing Helix for a while. So that's probably when you're trying to move from Lotus and Damien into Lucid kind of idea.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so, and then to bring it back to the items themselves, so when it comes to the accessory, well, let's start on the top right. So Emblem, that sticks with you the whole time. So that's the item that goes to Epic, the first of all the items, that goes to Unique, the first of all the items, and then also the item that goes to Legendary, the first of all the items. So when you feel you're at the point that everything is like really good Epic or already Unique, and you know the next step is getting things to Legendary, Emblem is just the first one. It's got the lowest amount of junk lands, it's got the best possible outcomes, it's got boss, doesn't have boss damage, sorry, but it has weapon attack and IED, which are both really good. IED can be good as a temporary stat. Temporary could be a few years in some situations.
Right, in MapleStory time.
If it's good enough, yeah. It can also be, you know, let's say that you get IED on your Emblem and some weapon attack. Like, that means that you can just completely freely reroll your secondary at that point, right? So you always want to see, like, what are all the moving pieces? How do they work together? So if your Legion and your Links build up, you get more sources of IED. You can check !IED in the chat. It has, like, a whole list of where IED can come from. If you calculate for yourself, like, I have enough IED functional and I don't need any extra, then you can roll out. But, like, the big chunks are like large amounts from familiars. The whole Legion chunk, if you have a big Legion, that's a whole lot. WSE, like you already have, like Weapon Secondary Emblem, huge chunk of IED. And then the other one is the Superior Gollux set bonus of 30% IED. Those are the big chunks. So whenever you get one of those sources that's not your WSE, and you can calculate that without, or like with re-rolling your current potential, you can still maintain a good amount of IED, and you can still have low damage reduction versus the bosses that you're killing. Low being, you know, whatever is relevant for that stage of the progression, right? Then you can re-roll your other items, like without any kind of risk to really hurting your progression and being able to kill the bosses at the same rate. What some people do is they will keep the current secondary that you have for quite a while and just wait until they can kill Princess No and get a Princess No secondary, which is technically stronger, and then just slowly start working on the Princess No secondary on the side. If it rolls attack, you can use that one for mobbing and this one for bossing. And if it rolls attack and boss, then you can use it permanently and just permanently replace it as long as you have enough IED between the rest of your account.
Got it, because this IED doesn't help me too much on mobbing, right? It doesn't actually.
There's nothing for you on mobbing, yeah. Okay, just the base stats of the item. There are regular monsters with PDR, but it's so low. I think it only goes up to like 50% at like the high level areas, and you'll have so much IED from other sources that it's completely not noticeable how much IED you need. So yeah, so that's the main thing now, is that for mobbing, this is going to start holding you back in like 20 to 25 levels probably, but for now it's fine because, you know, your kit is so strong and you can get a lot of damage, and you have the, you know, the boost of being a burn character.
Gotcha.
By the way, did you get the burn character? Do you have that fire ring, or did you not get that one?
Yeah, so I didn't quite understand the time gating of the event and how it worked. So I have the ring available on my Demon Slayer. I didn't get it on this one. I got this character to 210 after that little breakpoint.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I'm getting all the free nodes and the ring on my Demon Slayer. Which is fine. I think I just need to stop being a baby and just buy buff freezers. Like, hey, just don't die, dude.
Were you dying? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the frustrating part about Demon Slayer, is that I'd be going and I'd be like, okay, let's see how strong I am, and you know, go fight some bosses and stuff, and then I'd be like, okay, I died to a mechanic. Oh shit, I need to spend the next 4.5 minutes hitting all these buff buttons, or I'm not going to do any damage to the boss.
Right. if you get a buff freezer and you do the practice mode of the boss, then you can click buff freezer, but the buff freezer won't get consumed, but it'll act like it gets consumed. Then you keep all your buffs. So the boss practice mode is good for that.
That's super nice. Okay.
Yeah, because they're 5 mil a pop, so if you're doing like bosses with 15 lives,
it away.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess this costs a lot of money. This is another Meso sync, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we don't have
early on, that's a bit too much. Yeah, no, just have one buff freezer at least on you, and then do practice mode, and that'll save you a lot of trouble.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because it is for some bosses, for some monsters, for some classes. I mean, it is quite a rebuff fest. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Emblem, Emblem and secondary, so those are very important. So badge stays whatever you have. Technically later on maybe could get upgraded from like Monster Park. You do Monster Park, right? Because that's also in the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly working on the Monster Parker medal.
Yes.
Yep.
On this guy, and every so often I'll do a couple days on my Demon Slayer just to vary it up.
Yeah, sure. So that's all like in progress. The secondary we talked about, right? The Princess No on the side is probably what you want to be doing. You can use like extra Master Crosswinds you get it up to Epic or up to Unique, extra Meisters maybe to get it up to Legendary once the Emblem is also there. And then depending on when you get a nicer roll, you either use it temporarily for mobbing or you replace this one completely once you have enough IED to make up for the difference. For the cape, the cape is kind of weird. You basically will just hold on to this until you can get a Tyrant Cape from Hard Magnus. It has a very good drop rate for it. So once you're through CRA, the next bosses on the menu are Akechi, like Akechi and HMAG and CPAP, or like the next cluster of bosses, which is like pretty soon after CRA. So that shouldn't be too far down. That's probably like level 220, 225 or something if you keep going at this pace.
But this cape isn't going to really hold me back too much from CRA.
No. No, a cape is kind of like a weird cape, glove, and a shoe are kind of and shoulder are kind of like in a weird position where that you really want them to get those big set bonuses, but you don't have a set for a while that you can really use them with. Some people go for a Von Leon cape, some people go for a Nova cape, some people go for a good flame on a Penciler cape, some people keep this one. They're all like really close together, and none of them. You'll never hear me say that like you need to get this one item to like way better potential, otherwise your whole account like can't do a certain content. There's almost never like one piece like that really holds you back completely. Like if you had everything you had now but you didn't have an emblem, I'd definitely tell you to like get the emblem and upgrade it. But even without an emblem, you can still probably do all of the same stuff. It'll just all be a little bit or like significantly harder depending on how big that one piece is. So if everything else is kind of in place, but the one thing that's kind of shitty is your cape, then don't worry about it. You'll get to HMAG, you'll get a Tyrant Cape, and then you'll just get a big boost from the Tyrant Cape. Tyrant Capes have like 30 weapon and magic attack, I think, and 50 all-stat base, and have flame advantage. Nice. So, and then you'll basically hold the Tyrant Cape, and then you'll work on the Enraged Zakum Capes from Chaos Zakum once you can kill that. That'll be like around the level of CRA or just beyond as well. And then that one drops the Enraged Zakum Capes, and then you basically hold those as the fodder to Starforce up to transfer into Absol later. So you can just hold on to them until events, and then no safeguarding, Starforce up, etc. When it comes to heart, you can buy the fairy heart right now in the shop if you get enough money. It's 2 billion. You have until August 29th to make that money, so that is quite a while. The only really alternative to that would be the Wondroid heart, which is like a temporary event that comes around hopefully once a year, once every 2 years. We don't really know. That's like on a irregular schedule. So if you want a guaranteed good heart now, get the fairy heart from the shop, or hold off and wait until Wondroid comes around.
Okay, yeah, I think I've got like half a bill after I was done with the cubing, so I shouldn't have too much of an issue getting to the fairy heart.
Yeah, you're doing Ursus every day and Monster Park?
Mm-hmm. And MapleStory, yeah.
Yeah, MapleStory, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So any android of the same level as the heart or higher, or the same rank as the heart or higher, will be able to equip it, so that shouldn't be too hard either. So for the glove, yeah, you can just keep the current glove. You can Starforce it past if you want to because of the transfer laddering, right, all the way up into Absol later. So as long as you have one of the other gloves ready, then you're fine. The flame is really good on this one, so probably keep it as this one for as long as possible until you're fully flipping it over into the Absol.
Gotcha.
Is probably what I would do. And remember that you can pre-flame your Abzo if you want to, because the flame doesn't transfer over. So if you do have flames and nothing to flame, but you can already buy the glove, you can already start flaming the glove before you transfer over. It won't get rolled over. So that's also a good thing to do. Because, you know, in the priority list, high level equips, Abzo is pretty high in the flame priority list. For shoulder, yeah, your shoulder is just whatever. You just keep this. It's fine until you also go into the Abzo glove. Same thing for the Abzo glove, is you can choose to get the 150 gloves from Madman Ranmaru. You can save those and use them as fodder in the same way as you use the Zakum Cape once you go into the Abzo lab equips. For the earring, you'll actually keep this one for a long time until you get into Superior Galax earring. So this one will probably go all the way up into Legendary for drop or Mezzo, hopefully with a line of stat. And will stay with you until you get the whole Superior set completed, so that will be quite a while.
Okay, because that's on the Helix farm, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the shoe is kind of in the same situation as the glove, except, you know, it's like a tier, well, level higher, but a tier lower. But you basically just hold on to this as well, and then you can transfer it over. Since it is epic, it does have a quite nice flame for Pencilier, so I probably would do the same where you just keep it as this. And just like the glove, you can transfer it over well, into 140 into Pencilier, and then either into the 150 from Ranmaru, or you can also buy them from the shop at the moment itself, which will save a little bit of inventory space. So the shoes, you can transfer to level 150 shoes, and it's still in Transfer Hammer video as well, but they're in the Root Abyss shop called I think they're called Ancient Root Shoes. I don't know exactly their name, but they're level 150, and you buy them with the regular Root Abyss coins. And the gloves you can buy in the black market up to where Magnus is, and those are, I think, called Ancient Root gloves. So those are level 150, and you can buy them in the moment itself, so your inventory isn't completely filled up with 6,000 fodder items. Which is less than ideal. Oh, antique root gloves and antique root shoes. Yeah, that's what they're called. Level 150.
I see. Yeah, I'm watching stream.
Yeah. So if you have a good enough flames like you do, then you just keep this, and then you just have one prepped, or as long as you know where to find them. The main thing will be either wait for a 1+1 if you have enough money, or if it's only a 1+1, you can also wait for a 30% off. And then during a 30% off, get them to 15. That's when you save the most money, and you can easily get backups for these. And then sit on 15 until a 5-10-15, and then do the whole up down transfer thing. The main thing will be the order that the 30% off and the 5-10-15 come. If like the 5-10-15 comes before the 30% off, you have to either do it during the 5-10-15 or off event if you want to prep it. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a gamble. If you have enough money, I would use the 1+1. If you don't have enough money, it's whatever. You can also use it during the 5-10-15, because then at least you get 10 to 11 guaranteed without fail, which is like, I mean, that's like the least you can get, but at least it's something.
I've seen the little stats from the calculation video that even the little bonuses like that end up saving you a bunch of money in the long run.
Yeah, and if you do the long run and you do like whether you star catch every time or not, like that's like billions over the long term, but you're never going to be star catching every single time, because then it speeds up after a while, and it's the whole thing. So CRA just stays like this, and CRA is like one of the things where the priority for star forcing is very high and for cubing is very low, because the amount of junk lines you get from these is very high. Up to unique is fine, but like legendary has so many junk lines that it's actually more expensive to get the same amount of stat in legendary than in unique. So like this is like Master Crossman cube territory, where you just keep dumping them on until you have like 9 or 12% stat. The main thing is that you keep doing CRA once you can do it. Well, not on these pieces, right, because they're temporary, but like once you have the actual pieces. And I would not invest into CRA until these are like pretty much near running out, right? So that you can maintain the value the most. Yeah.
So in terms of like the kind of how close I get to replacing these, is it best to kind of do it all at the end once my character has gotten much stronger, or do I really need to be prioritizing now, like, oh, I need to be doing CRA parties and starting to get this stuff because it's going to take a while to replace these?
If you get one clear, there's like, I want to say like a 90% chance that you get enough drops to be able to replace them from one clear for those 3 pieces. It's like a really high chance that you get it. So you need 5 pieces. I think the unluckiest I've ever been is getting 3, but usually you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sometimes. So you almost have enough for 2 backups from 1 clear.
Gotcha.
And they still have like 2 months on them, right? So as long as you get that one clear somewhere within the next 2 months, then you're golden. So I would squeeze as much value out of these as I can by holding on to them and spending more money into accessories that I will keep, and getting some stat out of there, and getting that Absol weapon and getting a good flame on that, and then that'll be more than enough damage to get those clears, and then you can, that also gives you some time to maybe find some epic overalls, right? That you can transfer hammer into the new top and the new bottom, and maybe an epic hat, so that you can again save on the transfer potential to those.
Okay.
Overall transfers to both, by the way, to top and to bottom. So if you can get 2 overalls and 1 hat, then you're set.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. As far as the weapon, the fake weapon, I'm gonna get at 230. You said I need to get that one with the good flame. That one will need to be flamed. Okay, so it's locked on the Starforce
and the potential is locked. Yeah, the only thing you can do about it is flames, and flaming wise, weapon is the highest priority. And you've probably looked at the calculator, right? Because it's like a percentage of your base attack, so it's a pretty big chunk of like a good flame on the weapon will be like the equivalent of like 6 other good flames on your account combined or something.
Yeah, I just made a note to make sure I'm not wasting dumping flames before I get that, because I'll need to do that.
Yeah, this one could get a better flame maybe as well, but if you think you're going to get the levels before you get the clear for CRA and everything, then you might as well just save flames or whatever you have. If you have flames that are expiring right now, you could throw them on your weapon, right? Because it doesn't have a weapon attack flame right now. So that means that there is... Yeah, it's just the boss damage, yeah. I mean, like, boss damage is nice, but like compared to like getting a chunk of 30 or 40 or 50 or all the way up to 70 something attack that you could get, that's a way more.
Yeah, with my luck, I'll link you my 76 attack.
Yeah.
After 3 flames, so I'll send it over.
Okay, good. Yeah, and you could also, I guess, I don't know if you have with the cold cubes, right? Make sure that the epic items that you have, that they all have 6% strength.
Yeah, all the epics should have at least 1 line of 6% strength at the moment.
Yeah, and for the weapon, try to go for 6% weapon attack if you can, or attack power. I don't know what the.
Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, so I'll tag these last couple epics that don't have the 6% and get them.
Yeah, exactly. So and then for CRA, so you'll just you'll keep doing it weekly, right? For the boss crystals, for the souls, for all that stuff. That's all under the boss's grid, right? And then when Star Forcing comes, like this will be the first stuff to get to 17 completely without safeguarding, and that'll be the first stuff to go past 17 when everything is 17 as well, because it'll always be the lowest risk because they have the most backups. Which means that the cubing, once you get to the cubing, you can do it on this, of course, and when you get to the flaming, you can do it on this, because when items blow up, you get a trace, and then you just transfer it, and you can have near infinite backups of this, so then it becomes low risk. But in the beginning, lower tier for potential and higher Star Force goals than all the other stuff.
Okay. Do I need to make it a priority replacing these 2 rings, these trash leveling?
Yeah, I'll get to the ring. So we're at the Eye in the Face now, right?
Yeah.
So for Eye Face, I would just keep these even up to legendary, basically same situation as the earring, and it'll only get replaced, in my opinion, by the like the Sweetwater Tattoo and a Sweetwater Monocle, or by Sweetwater Tattoo and maybe by a Black Bean mark if you get one from Black Bean, from Chaos Pink Bean. Once everything is like, once you're getting stuff to 17 and once you're getting into legendary and all of that stuff, and then it'll be part of the big switch of boss accessory into Sweetwater and Superior Gollux.
Got it.
So the hat we already discussed. The belt is a really good item in the sense that you can Star Force it now. It can go past 15. It's part of the boss accessory set, and it has flame advantage. And it is also the direct item that will transfer hammer into the Superior Gollux earrings. So you can't really go too wrong with Star Forcing. You can easily get backup. So it's basically in the same category as your CRA stuff, except that the CRA stuff you're going to keep as it is. But since you're transfer and hammering this along into the Superior, keep in mind the potential tier, right?
Got it.
By the way, one extra note for the earring. So if you're going into Superior earring later, make sure that if you get any reinforced earrings from Hardlux or Helix, that you keep those as the fodder to transfer hammer over later.
Okay, the reinforced earrings. Save those for fodder.
Yeah, reinforced Gollux earrings. Yeah, because other 140 earrings are very hard to get, and there's nothing else to really like to ladder to like ladder step up there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the reinforced earrings are pretty much the ones. And then yeah, for the belt, it's just the pink beam belt. So that's the ideal one. Weapon we talked about, right? Maybe flame on this, but not super high priority. Once you get the Abzo, try to get a nice flame on that. Follow the grid, and then the weapon will just be done for a long time. The next weapon after that is probably going to be an Arcane Weapon, or maybe a Kaiserium if you get him from HMAG and get very lucky. But
Okay.
yeah, that's very few people have that. I have some Kaiserians, but only one of them on a character that can maybe use it. It's a huge weapon with a huge amount of attack. It doesn't have flame advantage, but the base attack, where is it? I think it's when it's liberated. I think it's 400. Yeah, so it'll drop as liberated like this. So that's 50 all stat and 250 attack. Level 150.
Okay.
And then if you liberate it, it turns into this one with 200 all stats and 400 attack.
Wow.
Which is massive. So even, I think I have one on my hero with a tier 4 attack flame, I think, is already 86 attack. So it basically can be almost equivalent to like Arcane, but with the added access that we have to actual Arcane, some people might even not want to use it because of how quickly you could get an Arcane. And because Arcane, of course, has the promise of the set bonus later, which makes it then better than the Liberated. Because that means you don't have to go into the hat for the set bonus, which means you can keep the CRA hat set complete.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So that's the next step for the weapon. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you can use it, and some people, if they get it, they definitely like anvil it, right, to give the look of the Kaiserium.
Yeah.
Even if they do go for it, because it just looks really cool when you're really holding on to it.
Of course.
But I think with if you can manage to get a tier 5 flame and with Star Force, because it's also kind of easy to Star Force because you can just get mass Pencilier, right, the 22 star
Right,
Pencilier,
from
and then just
140 to
transfer it
150.
over immediately. Yeah, and you have like mass fodder, just permanent access to. I think it can go up to 700 attack, or like close to 700 attack with a good flame and a good, which is a lot, and even at no flame advantage, so that's pretty disgusting. I mean, especially if you're looking at my knuckle, which has like half the base attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a contrast. Yeah, so that's like weapon options. When it comes to pendants, you're totally fine. In general, by the way, for Gollux, don't waste your time on reinforce. Just save up straight for superior. And then when you have the whole of superior complete, then you can go for reinforced ring after that if it's like necessary for your set. But don't stop on anything reinforced. Just go straight up to superior for everything.
Okay. Was it like really lucky for me to get this solid engraved pendant from just the normal Gullux? I've never seen a solid one drop before.
Yeah, normal can drop up to solid. They can even drop solid rings at a very low rate. That would be like really nice because that can go up to 20 stars and can be a really good ring early on for Star Force wise as well. But yeah, the if you get the highest difficulty or the highest rarity of the drop of the difficulty of the boss, that's always pretty rare. Like getting cracked in easy is pretty common, but then solid and normal, or reinforced in hard, or superior in hell, like those are the highest rarities that they can drop, and that's it's pretty difficult to get. And it's already 9% strength, so you probably hold on to this one. I'm guessing you'll probably make this one your damaging pendant for now.
Okay.
The thing is, we don't want to make you spread too thin now, right? We don't want to be like, oh, we're going to make like 3 sets of everything to optimize like 6% stat. Because we want that money to go towards utility, so you can start making a lot of money, so that when the event rolls around, you can spend it and become a baller, right? That's what we want.
Right.
So the fact that it's 9% strength is really cool, but when it comes to pushing things to the legendary, we'll probably put this later on the list because there's a higher opportunity cost because you're losing more strength. But eventually it'll probably get pushed because it's epic. Or again, you use this one to transfer hammer into another pendant that's level 130, transfer over the epic, over 140, over 150 maybe into the dominator, maybe transposing the dominator, right? That way you can still use it as an epot and there's still some value kept.
Gotcha. So at the moment, there's not a whole lot of value in,
5,
as far as
6.
damage goes, to get this pendant any further. If I was going to invest in pendants, I would probably do the drop rate / meso one, right?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of pendants to take into account. This one, and then there's the Chaos Horntail, there's the Mechanator, and the Dominator. And then those last 3 are all part of the boss accessory set. And you do kind of rely on the boss accessory set this early on. It has boss damage, has IED, has a bunch of stat if it's all added together, and a bunch of pieces in the set have flame advantage. Not the Horntail pendant, but the other 2 do, the Mechanator and the Dominator. That's why those are generally higher priority and higher desire to be part of your drop set. And then the Dominator can turn into damage pendant and can turn into transposing, or into, in the end game, you know, when you try to get really high star superior and you don't want to blow up a bunch of superior pendants, then you go use the Dominator as fodder all the way up Star Force and then transfer hammer that into the superior. So that's always how you want to, the lens you want to look at these items, like what level are they, you know, how can they transfer over, how can they help my account.
Okay,
so,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so when
I actually didn't realize the Arc Pendants were part of the boss set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge list, right? If you look at the right side, you can see all of the items that are in there. There's quite a lot of pieces in there. So right now you're at 9 set bonus, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, I have
8,
the
9.
9.
Yeah. So you don't have to move into a Mechanator or a Dominator to get that set bonus. The Mechanator will have the added bonus that it has flame advantage, so you could get something as crazy as you have on your Von Leon gloves, for example, on there. That's not realistic to aim for, but that is something that is possible. Whereas this item does not have flame advantage, right? You can pretty clearly see the numbers, like 8, 8 on a level 130 item, and then that's it. That's no flame advantage. But since you already have them epic and we don't want to spread you too thin, and you have the 9 set bonus, the thing is, if you want to rely on the ring is already unique, so we're going to rely on that. Yeah, so that would aim for just using these pendants. If you get a Mechanator with like a crazy flame, and you end up rolling like good damage on Legendary on one of these pendants, then you can just keep the damage and work on the Mechanator as a 3rd pendant, and then, you know, have a drop or mezzo there. Because basically at this point, with what ends up rolling on the items, on the potential, ends up like determining their function, pretty much. And that's...
Oh, okay, that makes sense,
Yeah, that's why a lot of people tend to buy the Sweetwater accessories a little bit early, because they don't want to get like an eye accessory and roll 30% strength and then feel really bad that that's going to be... If that does end up happening, well, then I guess, yeah, the next thing is to get either a Black Bean Mark or to get a monocle and then work on that and try to get dropped there. But yeah, we hope that doesn't happen, right? There's a pretty low chance. There's a better chance that you roll a line of mezzo or drop before you roll that, but it is possible.
Well, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, it's not the end of the world for sure, but it's like lucky and unlucky at the same time, because you have to like kind of salvage a situation that you weren't expecting to be in. And there's a very good chance that it will end up happening with rings. It's a good thing, though, that most of the rings, whether you have like 17-star solid or reinforced or superior, or any of the strong event rings or that flame ring, all of those will be like very, very close to how they are. So again, like whatever you end up rolling on Legendary, that ends up being their function. If you end up rolling a lot of strength, then make a 5th ring. If you end up getting mezzo or drop, hopefully with a line of strength, then it becomes your set ring for the combined mezzo drop set, and then you just hold that for now until you're ready to start pumping other stuff to Legendary.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I felt pretty bad that I realized that after I started doing the coin capping on the Dawn Warrior that I was like 3 days short from being able to reach the threshold for the event ring. Unfortunately, real feels bad when I did that math, because I was just assuming that I would get there, and then a couple of days ago I was like, hold on.
Yeah,
wait,
that's unlucky.
If I had this up, yeah.
Even with the triple Sundays and everything?
Yeah, I even went into the calendar and added them all up and everything. No, like I said, I only really started this account like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, yeah. Well, that also explains why you couldn't quite get the ring that early on, right? Why you couldn't get the levels out that quickly, yeah.
Yeah, because I only had a couple days of the...
Yeah, like ideal scenario is you get the flame ring and you get 3 event rings and you're like absolutely golden. Yeah, or you know, like a Kana treasure or a silver blossom and 2 event rings and the flame ring, and you're just solid until everything's 17 and done, because they're basically equivalent of a 17-star ring, but you don't have to pay anything for the star forcing. You can just go right into the potentialing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just to put a little bit salt in the wound, you know?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, gotcha, as in, now I feel a little bit worse about it, thanks.
But you know, an opportunity maybe for the Demon Slayer, an opportunity, you know?
Yes, an opportunity to not
to not fuck up so royally on that one. Yeah. No, yeah, but like silver lining into like put it into context. The cup is the only one we didn't mention, I guess. So the cup would be it is like, you know, spare flames go here.
Got it.
You have an okay flame, so you can just get a second cup and then just flame that one. If it gets better, you switch them out and then you can flame again. You know, that's something you can temporarily throw flames on. Other than that, it's whatever. It's just there for the set bonus. So the specific rings to go for, we want to go for rings we can get to legendary, and that can do something. Hopefully, get some Star Force. The Silver Blossom right now is giving you the set bonus. It's already unique, so that is the one that we definitely want to get up to legendary and start working on first, right? So I will always focus on the things that are already the highest tier potential, as long as it's not like 21% strength or something, right? If it's like 966, you probably want to keep it as strength. But otherwise, that's the lowest amount of extra investment that will get you to legendary, and that can start getting you that money back as soon as possible. So the eye and the ring would be the first things to try to get to legendary. Other than that, the treasure hunter John ring thing, I believe that one can also get potential, right? So that one can also go to legendary. So that'd be the second ring, and then
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I should probably do that.
Yeah.
I would have been cubing that one during Miracle Time too. I literally didn't even know.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, no, that's fine. And then maybe you can get a kind of treasure ring. If you check out Princess No, you can get her cleared. That would be nice. Otherwise, what are your options? I guess getting a solid ring. Yeah, you're really unlucky with the event rings, missing out on that, because those are really nice. Well, they're really nice, but also it makes it so much simpler because it's just like click done kind of thing. And the event before this also had like 4 or 5 event rings in it. So like on the tail end, yeah.
I kind of look at that as, well, there will probably be more in the future, right? If I just missed some really good stuff, that probably means there's really good stuff to come.
Yeah, those same big event rings are also in the current GMS KMS event, so that our winter event will have them as well. Of course, chances are that by winter, if you're really a sweaty gamer, that by that time you either don't need them anymore or they'll become your drop rate set. Which will allow you to reroll some stuff now that might become damage set, depending on how well it goes.
Okay. So
you already have 3 of the rings that can do, and then that 4th slot where you have the Silent Crusade ring. That could be either a solid ring, or I don't know if by that time you get there. I don't know if you're like exchanging and with guilds and all that. If you maybe get to enough to buy a superior ring, you could do that. I wouldn't mess with the Blackgate rings. That's all a little bit. Technically, you could do that. Blackgate City. Well, not really Blackgate City anymore. It's Phantom Forest that can have loot boxes that can have them. Those are rings. Making a Meister ring is pretty far away as well, because you need to get like Meister level accessory crafting, plus you need the primal essence and the grand spell essences. Like, you need a bunch of materials that you need some time to gather, so that's going to take a while. You could also just stick to like 3 rings, and work on the other pieces first, and then circle back if you get another ring by then. I think within not too long you should get to the point where you can kill Princess No, but it's RNG drop rate, of course, on her, and just once a week boss. So if you get lucky the first week, then you can take that into the rotation. If you don't, then you can get by with 8 pieces. As long as you have 5 mezzo and then some drop rate, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it sounds like I had a pretty warped understanding of the impact of a single individual piece. I was kind of feeling like, oh, well, there's no way that I'm going to be CRA ready until I have every single slot in a really, really good position.
Yeah, I made a video on this recently, actually. What 2 of what I think is like the biggest misunderstandings that new players have. And one of those is, I think, that you see people like hunting to fill in all the slots like immediately, thinking that that's going to be like the pinnacle of damage. And I think other games have that, but in MapleStory it's like not all the case, right? Because if you get your emblem to like legendary and it rolls 2 lines of attack, that potential alone is like more damage than your cape, your shoe, your pocket item, all of your rings, and your pendants and your eye in your face all together, like combined. So like just the individual quality of one item could just supersede all the other ones by so much if you know what you're aiming for and if you get lucky combined with that on something.
Yeah, that's definitely a carryover from WoW, where
Yeah, and there's
you'll
definitely
get
other
picked from a
games.
group
Yeah,
and someone inspects you and they're like, ah, your weapon has verse instead of crit, so
yeah.
you must
So
not have any clue what you're
so
doing.
you're a noob. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I see that a lot because a lot of people, one of the first, and I see immediately, and I don't want to be like, well, here's a 5-minute lecture on why you're an idiot, but like people will ask like, what is the fastest way to get level 30 charm? Like that's a question that you see so much, and it's like, okay, I want to answer this question for you, but I want you to know that getting level 30 charm very quickly is not important at all, and you don't want to worry about it. Like if you want to get level 30 charm, then just get Zaku, do Zakum runs, wear Zakum helmets. You can fuse them with alchemy. You can wear them again, get double charm. You can do it with the Horntail pendants, and you'll just slowly get to 30, and you'll be fine. By the time the damage from a pocket item and the set bonus comes into play and is important, by that time you'll have level 30 charm. If you're doing a character where you're not even going to be doing those bosses, then you don't need the pocket item and you don't need the set bonus, and it's fine too.
Gotcha.
And if you have the items that would be the fastest way, which would be the trade boost potions, those are actually best to use on characters that you want to get further within the game, and those are better to use on Insight and Empathy because that only levels when you're harvesting rocks and rocks and flowers, and those level up very slowly otherwise, and those give you final damage and buff duration, which are way more useful than getting the charm to 30 because past 30, like you get emotes from charm, whereas like the whole game.
I didn't even know that there were stats associated with the character.
Yeah,
like,
if you hover over it. So ambition, killing bosses gives you IED. Willpower, which is I think being logged in and doing things for the guild sometimes, gives you I think it's elemental resistance, which helps you get stunned a little bit less long and that kind of stuff. And then empathy is buff duration, and insight gives you reduced elemental resistance, which is less efficient for you because you already have a skill that does that as well.
Yeah. Okay, other random
random questions.
Question that's like impossible for me to find on the internet. Okay, experience gains from sources that aren't monsters, are those affected by experience multipliers like Monster Park and stuff like that?
So if you see the experience show up in the bottom left in your text bar, then you cannot multiply it. If you see the experience on like the top right, on top of where your keys are, those can be multiplied.
Okay, that makes sense.
They used to have like event multiplier items, but they discontinued those in the cash shop.
Oh, okay. Other really quick question. I am totally fine with doing a whole like 2 PC setup thing because I have a laptop that's perfectly fine. Is there content on your YouTube channel somewhere that will tell me what my priorities should be for like that Kana on that second account? It really doesn't matter, right?
Well, the main thing is just like leveling a Kana as a regular Kana, right? But like, you mean how to set it up, and because one of the main things is that there's like a few levels of sweatiness that you can get with it. The lowest level of sweatiness is you put it somewhere in the map and you just press Kishin. And it has 50% uptime, and then it's just half on, half off, basically. That's like the lowest level of sweatiness. The only thing for that is you need to make sure that the Kana is of the level that it can reach the area that you want to use it in, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's no like I haven't actually gotten a 5th job with Kana. There's no like V matrix stuff to boost like kitchen or anything you need to worry about. You literally just level it up to the level for the map you need.
No, so like with the higher levels of sweatiness, you actually want to get weaker. So the second level of sweatiness is that you activate a skill called Circle of Suppression, which is a hyper skill, and then you put it somewhere where it will get hit by monsters. And then the Circle of Suppression will hit monsters that'll trigger the skill called Night Ghost Guide. And the more often the Night Ghost Guide gets triggered and doesn't kill a boss, doesn't kill the monster, it'll trigger an extension to Kishin, and that'll slightly increase the duration of Kishin. And if you have the character standing somewhere hitting things passively when it gets hit, away from Kishin is better, so that Kishin and it don't kill things, right? And therefore you have better targets and more. That's like the second level of sweaty, and then so you want to be strong enough that you don't die, but also weak enough that you don't kill the monsters, right? So if you level the Kana too much, it might be hard to do that, and if you don't level it enough, it might won't be able to go to the area that you want to be at. So you want to be like barely being able to go to the area where you're at, but enough to not die.
Okay.
or to be safe enough, you know. So if you find you're kind of dying a bunch, maybe just go for less sweaty option. Or you have super sweaty option number 3, where you basically strip your character, make it strong enough to not die, and make like a macro with like the Alt-GR key for your regular attack and teleport after Kishin is on. And you connect it to like a foot pedal and put your foot on it the whole time to make sure that it's like teleporting through the map using the regular attack, not hitting everything but not killing anything, just scratching things, and just constantly triggering Night Ghost Guide to keep 100% uptime on Kishin. That's like the 3rd level of like sweatiness. When it comes to leveling your Legion, it's hard to do that 3rd one because even at super weak, you're still going to be killing the monsters and KSing your main character. So it's probably better to just stay with the 50-50, and then at least it'll help you level up your Legion faster without needing to dedicate your totems to your Legion. But when it comes to like taking your Kana up to level like 240, 250 areas, right, and being able to train more than you have access to totems, then you can go full sweaty if you want to, because as long as you strip the Kana, it won't kill anything. But you can... you can upscale the amount of hours that you can train, even when you don't have Kishin, by a lot. Again, and then that will take again away the need to maybe have a Kana farmer on your main account. Sorry, just want to add that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, it sounds like I'll probably stay on the lower end of the spectrum with the sweatiness, unless the need really comes over.
Yeah, I had that as well. Like I used it a lot to build up my Legion, but once those changes went through and the Kishin uptime went down, and then the Night Ghost Guide being able to extend it, I find myself using my Kana way less and less because I have my totems, you know, and I can't even finish all my totems, so I use it to AFK and flag race every now and then that's pretty much it.
When I watch the stream, it seems like the priority on the Kana has really gone down over the past couple years. I remember at least beginning of 2019, it was like, well, I'm not doing anything unless I have my Kana logged in and on the map.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the uptime. But the other thing is also there's the added level, like gating to all the new areas. Is like, oh, I want to train my character now. I'm training in a level 265 area, so the Kana has to be 265 to be able to Kishin me there.
Which just feels ridiculous to invest that amount of time.
Yeah, and it's going to only more ridiculous because starting at level 270, with every 5 levels, the amount of experience you need doubles per every 5 levels. Like within, so like, you know, getting from level 70 to 275 is like getting, or like 275 to 280 is like getting from 270 to 275 twice. You know, like, and then, you know, 1, 2, 4, 8, like, you know how that works. Like the further you go, like, it's like well, you're just training 2 full accounts at that point to be able to go. If you want to get to 300 though, like in a timely manner, you'll probably still have to do it because the totems are not nearly going to cut it, because these are like people who are training, unironically training 12 to 14 hours a day to try to make this, right? I don't know where they get the time, but like that's how they do it. So for those people, it'll probably still be worth it, but up to what point? Like up to 280, up to 285? Like, are they going to keep coming with new areas, with new level entry permissions every 5 levels? That's going to be really hard to keep doing.
Yeah, no, that's infinite ways off. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how close when on your schedule you have the Black Mage? So just throwing that information out there. So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, pipe dreams. I would love to you know, interact with this game in the way that I used to interact with high level WoW, where, you know, I'm playing with other players of very high caliber and we're doing very, very difficult content, but I'm not really in a rush to get there, if that makes sense. Like, this game is just such a enjoyable source of nostalgia and just fun for me.
You're an actual kid when you're playing it,
like a literal
like a baby,
child.
yeah.
So like just logging in and just picking a new character. Like, I've been going through and just randomly leveling explorer classes that I remember back from like way back in the day, and you know, it's just a trip, and it's just so much fun to pick up that like that is my eventual end goal, but I'm just in so much of not a rush that it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'll make sure you get that nostalgia in, because I think they're planning a revamp for the explorer characters in KMS. So in like 6 plus months from now, they'll probably redo a whole bunch of stuff on how they work. So make sure you get that nostalgia fix in the next 6 months.
Gotcha. Yeah, my
for the big reworks. Yeah.
My initial investment into character expansion slot coupons has actually legitimately slowed down my meso grind.
Yeah, that's why I usually say, like, do it regularly, but like evenly, because with every new character you make, if you get enough, just a decent amount of levels on it, you have your snail to to loot, you should be able to make the money back pretty easily, and then invest that money back into the next one. So at least it doesn't become a net drain, but it becomes like a net like neutral.
But the extra fun factor is a net positive regardless at the
end
of the
day. Of course. You do want to value having fun in this game, because that's what it all comes down to. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, you're just going to bounce anyway. And then all of the time spent is going to feel like a little bit of a waste, so...
Yeah.
The last thing to circle back to, because you asked about, like, doing things with people, right? Like, are you, like, where do you look for people? Is that kind of what you were wondering as well? Or how do you find people?
Yeah, so I tried to kind of get it back when I first started playing about a year ago from our Discord conversation here was when I joined the Mule guild and started trying to do some stuff with personal life changing. I had to step away from the game for a while, and so I'm just now coming back.
Okay.
Like I said several weeks ago, and so yeah, I would love to join a guild, start getting in a Discord where I'm chatting with people and stuff like that, and if that's through your gang as it is, then so be it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this I try to make the main thing, I think, with the whole community, so with the Discord, with the Twitch, with the guild in the game, is just to promote party play and doing things together. There's a lot of soloism and doing things by yourself, so I don't feel like that needs to be promoted. I don't think it's necessarily worse. It just depends on how you want to play the game, but that's already pretty everywhere. So I thought we need a little bit more representation for doing things together. So that is the main thing behind the guild that we do try to promote. Yeah. But yeah, the Discord is also set up that if you have like those roles, right, you can find people who also signed up for the roles for those specific bosses who are actively seeking parties for those bosses. So the hope is that maybe in game you find one person, maybe in the chat you find one person, maybe in guild, and maybe in Discord if you find one person everywhere. Now you have 4 people, right, and now you can have a decent chance at these bosses. But I do implore everyone to like just try by yourself, get rolled a few times and learn from the boss fights and see what you can do, so you can at least feel confident that you know what you're getting yourself into, which is, I think, very important, especially if you're going to do party play, to make sure that you're not that you don't run the risk of being a drag on your party, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that solo progression of just trying it myself and getting rolled 20 times is actually legitimately my favorite part about the game. Like going from being able to like not even close to kill the like normal Golux, or I don't know what the nomenclature is for the levels or whatever, but where you only kill the one half, only like barely being able to get through the first like phase to the point where I am now, where I can just nuke it, has felt so nice to actually like see the character progression. So I'm excited to see that at higher levels. Yeah,
it's on those different levels, right? So the level of being prepared, the level of just understanding boss mechanics way faster and being to adapt, and on the other side, knowing your own character way better and then upgrading your character itself, and all of those things together can mean if all of it is functioning at 10%, then you're doing nothing. But if all of them start functioning at 70-80% of their of your potential, then you just start seeing huge progress in doing certain bosses. And that's what's been really fun for me for doing Project CR8 on characters that you can level all the characters to 200 and not have any kind of understanding how they function. Like,
for sure.
You have no idea. But once you get the 5th job and you get into it, and you have people in the chat who play the class giving it a little bit of advice and stuff, and actually trying to do the bosses, there was a character where I was like, okay, this level of funding, there's no way this is enough. I was able to do like 30 to 35% of the boss, and I timed out, so like it wasn't even because I died out or something, and I couldn't really feel how I could do more damage, how I could do it more optimal. So I was like, I don't think I can do it, and I think with 3 more attempts, and by the end of the day, I actually cleared it with like a minute or half a minute to spare, and it was really crazy how. It sounds like I'm jerking myself off a little bit, but like it's really fun for me to like find that optimization and find like, okay, this is what I need to do. Like I need to be constantly doing this whenever I can. I need to be constantly doing this, and when this comes off cooldown, like it has to go in ASAP. And yeah, just realizing what the characters are actually capable of, even at my 60 to 70% efficiency,
Yeah.
and to only think about like, well, imagine if someone is playing this at like 100% efficiency, like how much can you do with these characters? Pretty crazy.
Yeah, my white whale is eventually at some point I would love to have a high mastery of Blaster, just because watching the YouTube videos and trying it myself, and the inherent understood delta between the efficiency that I have with the character and where I understand the ceiling is just so tantalizing to see like how far it is and be like, oh, I would love to invest some time into this and get crazy good at Blaster.
Yeah, there's some oh, Spirit Saver, my bad. There's like some crazy like, I don't know if you've seen this one, for example. Oh, where's it? There's like content for later. But like, like they don't even have the minimap maxed, so they can't even see the whole thing. But like, when I see this, I feel so inept at like everything I've ever tried in my life.
Yeah, watching the BA videos where they showed the difference between like the total output, like with some of the animation canceling and without. Or where they show like, okay, here's me trying like 80% to do it right, and then here's me like trying 100% to do it right, and just seeing the raw output difference is just so insane.
Yeah, it's like 40%, 60% final damage difference or something.
Yeah.
It's nuts, yeah.
Or like the total number of casts, in a given time.
Yeah.
The little explosive thing is crazy.
This is a little bit ping too. Like I could never do this because of my ping is not reliable enough to make sure that I pick these up fast enough. This guy's able to move away very quickly to the next ones. Even
I'm lucky to have an insanely good ping, so for sure. I guess last kind of final parting question: if you had to suggest one class for me to put some more other time into, one that is super dynamic to mob with, like your mobbing is not just a series of hitting like the same buttons in a row, but you're actually like changing what you're doing over the course of a mobbing session, but it has relatively straightforward bossing, like something that I could focus more on mechanics without having to be hitting 100,000 buttons just to boss.
Isn't Kain like quite a lot of different buttons to boss though?
Like I love the mobbing of Ho-Young and Arc. Like it just feels so much fun to just be have the character control to bounce around the platforms and everything. But having that kind of gameplay in a boss fight to me feels like so superfluous and like that's not the way that I want to boss with a character, like jumping all around and stuff.
Yeah, so you can animation cancel and you don't have to jump around that much when you're bossing, but for both of those classes the main issue, quote unquote, is that you're very burst heavy, and you are burst heavy because you have like 12 skills to prep to make sure your burst goes off properly. So that probably goes into the like, because you can I can attack like this and then it won't move me well if I do it properly.
I see.
There you go, with transforming. And then I can do the skills while standing still, but with a Battle Frenzy skill up here that I build. So then you can stand still if you want to, but you can still dash around also if you want to.
I see. I didn't realize that most of Arc's skills had. Honestly, Arc's probably where I'll end up then on that type of idea.
Yeah, it's like the higher your attack speed is and the higher your ping is, the harder it is to pull off. But once you have these stacks of Battle Frenzy, the more stacks you have, the more wiggle room you have to be able to like weave in the skills instead of having them move you around.
Gotcha. All right.
So at least that Kain might be really pretty good. Mostly like alternating between skills, and you have empowerment on all the skills, and you have to like weave that in if you want to. But there's a lot of I don't know. I'm not sure on Kain yet because it's like very new, so I don't have as much experience with it either.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't not something I'm faulting you for not having a perfect. This is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, because I'm thinking there's when it comes to like straightforward, like Downward is like very good at like the straightforward bossing, but then the mobbing one is like very repetitive, right?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Mostly just because the visuals for your 5th job skills are absolutely insane with this class.
Yeah, they're
It's just
glorious. Yeah.
such a spectacle. Yeah.
And then the downside comes when you have rebossing. You have to turn everything invisible,
Yeah,
otherwise you can't do
everything's down to
anything.
0. Otherwise,
And then
you literally can't see a single thing.
And then all of the enjoyment out of seeing your beautiful kit is gone.
No, but honestly, for me, that's fine, right? It's like I interact with one part of the game in this way, and this other part, my priority is doing the mechanics and everything. I'm okay with turning my transparency down.
Yeah, like Hoyong is also like up there, but Hoyong in certain places, like in end game areas, it's actually very undynamic. You just stand in one place and hold down one button, and everything kind of dies. And then bossing wise, it can be dynamic if you want to, but it can also be stationary if you want to. But then kind of has the same thing with Arc, where you are so burst heavy that you do have to make sure that you prep all of your stuff for the burst. And if you do it properly, you can do insane damage. But it is like I've done it on Project CRA. I was messing up twice because I was trying to do everything, and then I ended up messing up. And then I tried to do like with 2 fewer skills, and then I was very able to roll it because it just has so much burst that I didn't even need my full burst to be able to kill the boss at level 210, like at like the clown. So yeah.
I was also thinking about Cannoneer. Because it seems like you get to have a little bit of fun with the anchor and the summons and everything, jumping around on maps, and then bossing seems at least relatively straightforward on the class. But
yeah, bossing is not too for mobbing it kind of depends. If you do the bigger maps, you work more with your summons and you rely more on the big bullets, and in the smaller maps you kind of just spam your what is it, bazooka shot, or your whatever it's called. There's some maps in Arcana where people just like jump down shoot into the river, teleport, and that teleports them diagonally to the other side, and they just repeat that, and they just shoot into the middle of the map basically from the sides. But there's some other maps that are bigger where you'll work more with the summons and with the big cannons and everything. And they're a pretty solid class, I would say, as well. Pretty rough to get up to 5th job with them. Once you have it, it's really, really nice to be able to shoot those big bullets out. Definitely worth it, I would say.
Yeah, I don't really mind even the tough up to 200 grinds with. I can tab out with some Netflix or something. It's whatever.
Not the end of the world, yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for the extended bonus.
I think we did it exactly in 45 minutes. I think it's perfect.
Featuring Magic the Gathering finance podcast. So
I think we hit all the things we wanted to do. Yeah, I need to have a time manager. Chat, you need to yell at me, okay? It's never 45 minutes.
It's my fault. It's my fault. I ramble too much.
Well, yeah, but it's still. I'm not gonna blame you for it. It's still it's my show, okay? I have to, but whatever. It's fun. The chat is okay with it. All they're missing now is Evan Project CRA, so I think they're okay with that.
Gotcha. Well, I'm excited to see the absolute random playstyle that is Evan with the Project CRA. I gotta Evan to 200, and it just does not make any sense to me.
I'm looking forward to it so much. It's so fun.
I get a buff when I touch the dragon, and then he's got to go away and then come back or something like that.
You have return, and that leaves an effect depending on which skill you're returning from. Some give debuffs, some give buffs, some leave like a trail of fire. And if you, instead of use return, you link them with another skill, you can get a fusion skill going off.
Would you believe I got to 200 without actually binding the return key to my bars?
It seems possible, yeah. No, I went back to my Evan that was level 210, and I could not understand how I got a single level past level 160. It had like 8 total equips equipped or something, including the ones that are locked. And it had Pencilier that had I think it had rare potential, but it didn't have anything on it, and it had like 10 stars, and it had a few items without Star Force on. I was like, how did I ever get this to 210? Is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I'll be watching. Good luck with the Project CRA. Thanks for doing the whole project as well. Like from a relatively casual or newer player, watching a big content creator show this kind of struggle that is a big barrier to entry on the mid game has been really cool to see.
I think it's an important one though. Like I think it sets the pace to like this is the level of difficulty, and if you can get over that hump and you can get the motivation to get over that hump, that'll set you up for success for all the bosses that come after that. If you can get through it, like either with a group of friends or like solo, or figure it out, or asking people for advice, like, and you can get through that, then that sets you up for success for all the bosses that are to come. And that's kind of why I want to dissuade people from just getting carried on those bosses, because if you get carried there, then the next one, it's going to just be the same situation. You're going to have to get carried again and get carried again. And then you end up in a stage of the game where it's like, well, you kind of have all the content, but you didn't have any of the pushback from the content that you had to fight for to get there. And then you're kind of just in a dead zone where, okay, do I just endlessly farm to upgrade the things that I have, or do I move on to another game? That's kind of like the problem I see on the horizon for people if you play the game that way. So that's why, again, not necessarily saying I'm like against it, or if people want to do it, they can definitely do it, but I'm trying to prioritize more and emphasize more the other side, so that people who want to play the game that way also feel like they have some community that they can bounce ideas off of, and some people they can ask questions. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes total sense, and I feel like I kind of fit into that like middle ground there, where I want to be able to do as much as I can solo, but I also want to interact with the game socially, you know?
Yeah, do a little. Yeah, it is an MMO after all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I feel like it's an MSO, just mass single player online role playing game, but you know,
it didn't used to be. It used to be that PQs were like 75% of the gameplay. You know, those were the days.
And training in parties as well was just those were the best rates. But
I was, like I said, I was trying to get my friend into playing the game with me, and the biggest barrier to entry is that we keep running into these pieces of content where it literally dissuades you from being in a party, which just feels so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually so frustrating that even just level 30, you pop into Gold Beach and it's like, okay, we've removed you from your party, and it.
Yeah, and everyone gets their own. Gets their own monsters.
How am I supposed to introduce my friend to this game and like play with him and like, you know, party up? And it just felt so wrong that
felt weird.
That so much of the natural, you know, incentivized parts of the game aren't supposed to be done in a party.
Apparently in Gold Beach, people still like defame you and yell at you and report you for casting if you're killing there, because they don't understand that everyone has their own monsters. Apparently apparently still happens
I figured that one out pretty quick when I was like, on my screen, I'm like, dude, my friend is just standing over here just hitting buttons and he's not hitting any monsters. Like he's clearly not understanding.
Like, are you okay, man? You need some help
there? For sure, you're smarter than this. Like, there must be some kind of miscommunication here.
Me press button. You're like, dude, you're not killing anything. Are you okay? Actually, he was 5-head though. He's way ahead of you.
Yeah, no. I look over, he's like 40% ahead of me on the experience part.
Yeah, because you were just confused at what was going on.
Yeah, because I'm trying to give him his half the map, right, and not.
yeah. Rotating half the map, and then and back in the day, that was actually better to share maps because you didn't have mobility. Yeah. And then if everyone kills their part, then you don't have to move so far to get to the next monster, so your rates would go up. But now everyone's got mobility out the ass, and the maps have hundreds of monsters, and all of your skills hit half the map.
Yeah, everybody's got totems. You've got 4 different full map wipes, and
and it just doesn't make sense anymore. And then if you share maps, now what happens to runes? Now you have alternate runes. Now you hurt your rates, right?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. The first time my buddy picked up a rune while we were in a party, and it only affected him. Like, that's not intuitive at all.
Like,
how did that? I don't know. I feel like as an enfranchised MMO player, it just did not make any sense to me, because so many other games put such a weight on new player experience. You know, because that's how else are you going to get?
Are you going to get people volume in the door, right? Yeah. Well, and that's why it was a huge problem for a long time, and it kind of still is like when you DC or crash, which was way more common like a year ago than now. Actually, the servers are kind of in a good spot right now, where you would just like, you DC or crash, all of your buffs are just gone. Just completely stripped. 2-hour buffs, 1-hour buffs, half-hour buffs, just gone. Good luck.
Yeah, I feel much happier sitting down being like, all right, I'm gonna do like a 60 to 200 session, knowing that it's much less likely that I'll get DC'd.
Yeah.
Because that felt real bad.
Yeah, no, that's so punishing. Yeah, and it shouldn't be. Like, I played Guild Wars 2 for a while. Like, you DC, okay, cool. You come back, all of your buffs are just like they kept. I think they keep running when you're offline, but that's about it.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you lose like 30 seconds on them. You lose like a minute on them. But no, you have a game here that takes like 6 minutes to log back into, and then everything is gone too, and your map is gone, and it's like, oh well.
Yeah, and your map is gone.
And then when you DC, then you get that pop-ups like, how likely are you to recommend this game to a friend? And you're like, well, this could have come at a better time to.
Yeah, for sure. It was a real like I'm actually in the spot now where I don't think that he's gonna keep playing. It's just a real feels bad.
It is hard to get people friends to play it with you because you're like, no, I swear, man, like it gets better after episode 45, but.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we play League of Legends together, and we're 80 carry.
Oh, so he is part masochist. So there is some.
yes.
So he could be into Maple still. No, there's still hope.
Yeah, there is still hope. Yeah, League is the. I'm just
the best game. It's so fun. It's just the community is so amazing, so helpful. Every single game is just an adventure, that you're embarking on with your best friend.
I'm a low-key aspiring Teamfight Tactics pro though, so I'm not going to speak too bad on Riot, or they might.
Riot is the best company. Best company.
Yeah.
After Nexon, they're tied for best gaming company.
Yeah, I actually just finished my my Grandmaster's grind yesterday in TFT, so I'm back to the top like 0.005%, which feels nice.
Nice. I think I played season 1 a little bit. It was actually pretty fun, but then they started changing a lot of things, and I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I didn't try again after that. Oh, it's a shit show now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was.
Back when I played, the problem was the items. Like you could be like 3/4 in and have only 2 items, and someone else could have like 11, and it'd be like, how am I supposed to ever win this?
Yeah, they luckily smoothed that part out by just adding scheduled intervals for when you get items instead of just getting them randomly from the creep rounds. But now there's so much more random drops from stuff that you'll get to like stage 3 where you've got like 3 cost units and there's somebody with like a 2-star 5 cost and it just one-shots your entire board and you just go next. This is a great esports ready game that does not have high variance.
Yeah, no. I mean, when it comes to esports, there's been some interesting. You had like the Clash of Clans esports that tried to be a thing, or what was it like the mobile game where you had like 2 dudes just with an iPad sitting on a throne and just kind of like swiping on the thing, and that was like part of the esport. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what Magic is now from an esports perspective.
Oh, right, yeah.
In an arena on a computer. Well, I mean, you can't diss that too much. Back in the old days of like StarCraft tournaments and stuff, it was real intense having the players like sitting there against each other. But for it just feels delirious for a game that actually has a physical collector card game component to it to have 2 people sitting across from each other holding iPads.
Yeah, there's something is lost there. Yeah. Because they're just like eyes glued to the thing, but yeah.
It's also difficult to ask somebody to show up to a tournament with a $15,000 deck or something,
You have like security to escort you from the airport, yeah.
No. There are tournaments with the vintage format where people have like $250,000 US decks,
exactly.
in the like cost of a house for sure.
Black Lotuses and shit.
Insured, yeah, they have insurance policies. I actually used to sell insurance policies like that for collections and collector vehicles and stuff like that. So we actually saw some like baseball card collections in the like 600,000 range. It's crazy.
Yeah, like more than most people's cars and houses and shit.
For sure, yeah. Entire worldly possessions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole new world, and then you get something that's graded like a high, whatever it's called, and then it's worth 100 times the same card that has like a little dent on the bottom or something. I was like, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the packs that have those cards in them are now like framed on people's walls and worth like 80 grand. Just the packs, for the like 2% chance to open the like.
Oh yeah, like the alpha set or something, right?
Yeah. The alpha and beta packs alone are like things that you frame on your wall.
Because even if the card is in there, then you barely break even. It's
a big deal when people do open the packs because the EV is like technically lower than what the pack is worth.
It's like 0.01 or something.
Right. So when people are opening the packs, it's like, oh shit, this person's really going for it.
But because there's like 3 cards that are worth more than the pack, and everything else is a loss or something. What is it, like Ancient Recall, Black Lotus, and maybe some of the Mox shit, and then...
Yeah, the reason that they're so expensive is because they're on what's called the reserved list, which means that the game company is technically legally never allowed to reprint them. So the idea is
okay.
that they're artificially scarce and have a certain set number
Right.
that were printed. And
Do they know how many are still like?
yeah, actually, well, they know how many were originally printed,
Right, yeah.
within give or take, like, 10 or something like that.
Probably a few Black Lotuses in a box somewhere, and someone has no idea what it's worth, and they're just sitting there. It's like a few $100,000. Well, not hundred. That's the high grade
it's much
ones,
more
right?
common from the sets that were like early 2000s that just happen to have like 1 or 2 cards in them that are ridiculously expensive. For those to just be stuffed in people's like college boxes, you know, from way back in the day, and
Or like parents selling everything for $5, and it's got like
yes. The amount of stories on Reddit you see of someone like, my son moved off to wherever, and is this worth anything? And it's, a foil guy.
I give you about $350, and it's
in like a kitchen Tupperware container, and it's like that's worth more than the house you're standing in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a completely mint foil Glimpse of Nature. I think that's my most valuable card.
Yeah, the Elves combo card, yeah.
I think it's like $60 or something. Well, probably depending on the format that's lively at that time.
I had some really nice artist signed old border fetch lands that were really nice. If anybody in chat knows what that is.
The gold one, the split ones, where you like tap, sacrifice, and then search for one of the two.
So they reprinted the fetch lands recently with the old border treatment, like from the cards that were like from the alpha and beta packs. So they reprinted new cards with the old border, so they look like old cards, and they're like, and so I got a set of one of the new old border lands, and then got them signed by the artist, and those are my prized possessions. Nice. I did not sell those off with my collection. They're still sitting behind me.
Well, those are like cards that might not be worth that much now, but they might eventually be, right?
Yeah, actually, in fact, signed cards are considered damaged.
Yeah, exactly.
Very low value for them from
only collectors would want those, not anyone who wouldn't play them for, Exactly. All right, I think we have to stop before the fan fiction gets written about us, and
something like that. Yeah. Well, I'll be in the chat again. I appreciate the content and everything you do. Keep working hard. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Yeah, good luck with everything, and I'll see you around.
Thanks.
All right, yes, I managed to just within the 45-minute mark, guys. We did it. That's actually not true, Smiley. I had another one very recently that was exactly on the mark, and that was perfectly on time. Okay. And also way before the earliest ones I started doing, okay? Those were also somewhat on time. 43.5 minutes pog. Perfect. In some countries, this constitutes a marriage, I think, yeah. But yeah, so if you are pretty new and you are just starting a Terrorburn character and you're kind of in a similar situation, hopefully this gives you a good idea of like where to go with equips and which pieces to think about and which things in the game to consider. So like the transfer hammer and transposing video, make sure you definitely check that one. Value of flames, like the flame score commands, make sure you use that. IED, how much you need from that. We didn't really go into crit rate too much, but that's very heavily linked with the Legion and the Link skills as well. Critical rate is a very important stat early on to get your damage up. But between all of that working together, we'll see this character be doing CRA in no time. Again, depending on how many friends he can get to play and can keep playing for more than half an hour. And to which extent he practices bosses and gets better at them, of course. Thank you, Maestro, for the gifted subs. Completely out of the blue for the double session, the wedding gift. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate it very much. So yeah, if you guys are interested in one of these sessions for you as well, that may or not be actually within the allotted time, or you want to join the guild, EU or NA, or you have data for me in the form of the battle analysis or monster skill per hour or training videos in areas, make sure you check the links in the description of the video that talk about those things, and send me the information and I'll get back to you and we can set up. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.